So before we begin, I'd like to invite some of our special guests to bring us brief greetings. I want to start with Congressmember Nydia Velázquez.
Good evening. Good evening, North Brooklyn. I am so proud to see so many faces here. This is what America looks like. This is what democracy looks like. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and welcome here. Our Councilman Antonio Reynoso, all the other elected officials. This is very important because you have helped shape this community. I remember the days when many taxi drivers didn't want to cross the Williamsburg Bridge. And those who stayed here and fought hard to end violence and drug trafficking in our communities, you made this community. And tonight, you deserve to be heard. Mr. Mayor, I don't recall in my time in office, in public service, a town hall meeting being conducted by a mayor here in North Brooklyn. So, thank you for your continued engagement of our communities, and also for playing an important role, because as you know, and we all know, there is madness in Washington, D.C. And so we haven't done much of anything. There are some in Washington that think that dividing our communities, that just talking about rhetoric, emotional issues is the way to govern our country. And so when Washington failed to address the issues that are important for working families in our country, the mayor is tackling those issues. And most importantly, we all need to continue to be engaged, because what happened in Washington affects us all. Thank you for being who you are, for embracing diversity. And the message to those in Washington is, in Brooklyn, we care about our neighbors. We take care of our neighbors. We embrace diversity. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for creating a sanctuary city. Thank you.
Once again, your Congressmember Nydia Velázquez. Next up, I'd like to invite your Assemblymember Maritza Davila.
Thank you, Mayor. Very briefly, our Congresswoman couldn't have said it better. It's a proud moment for us today. We welcome you with open arms. We are extremely happy to have you in our district. I am extremely proud of everyone that's here. Give yourself a big round of applause, because we're ready to do this. I want to especially thank our Councilman Antonio Reynoso for putting this together. Thank you, and let's get the show on. Thank you.
Your Assemblymember Maritza Davila. Let's hear it again. And now, your District Attorney, Eric Gonzalez.
Hello, neighbors. I just want to say a few things very quickly. I want to thank the police department for being here. They're my partners, along with the mayor, in doing what people said could not be done, not only in New York City, but especially in a place like Brooklyn, that we could continue to make Brooklyn one of the best places and safest places to live in the entire United States. And we can do that in ways that were fairer, with less arrest, and with more fundamental fairness. And we're going to continue to do that. We're going to continue to make sure Brooklyn stays safe. I focused our resources on violent drivers of crime, and we've and I'm sure the mayor's going to mention this, I'm not going to get too much into it, but 2016 was the safest year in Brooklyn's history. We're going to do better in 2017. So I want to thank the mayor, and I want to thank the police department for doing this. And to my councilman, Antonio Reynoso, thank you for your support. Listen, many of you know that I'm running for office this year, so I ask for your support. Thank you for being here with me. You know I attended 250 and 318 in the neighborhood. So I'm a neighborhood boy, and I'm raising my family right here in Williamsburg. God bless everyone. Thank you.
Once again, your district attorney, Eric Gonzalez. And now I'd like to invite up your council member, Antonio Reynoso.
All right. Buenas noches or buenas tardes. Good afternoon, good night. How's everybody feeling today? I just want to say, I know my mom is here, and I want to say hi to my mom first. Mami, párese de una vez, mami. ¿A dónde está? Do you see her? There she is. All right. So I want to start by saying that there's no way in my time going to school in PS 19 and junior high school 50, being here, working in the community, 33 years of my life, 34 years of my life here in this community, that I would ever think that I would be surrounded by friends and family and neighbors alongside the mayor of the city of New York, making sure that we're delivering for our community. That is something that I never expected would happen, but we're here today, and I'm extremely proud to say that my community's here, it's behind me, and we're gonna make sure we get as many resources as possible today in this one place. I also wanna say my wife is here, Ileana Reynoso, if she can stand up too. That's also our 6-month-old baby is there. Well, 6 months, she's pregnant with 6 months right now. And this is an early shout out to you, Bill. The 3K and pre-K, I'm excited. I'm gonna be saving a lot of money because in the 3rd year, I'm sending them to a public school right away. So I'm really excited about that. So I wanna thank you for what you've done with 3K and pre-K as well. We're here, and it's extremely important that we diversify our questioning here today. We have the mayor of the city of New York in our hometown, in Williamsburg. We need to make sure we ask him 40 different questions if we can, because then we get that many more resources. If we ask him 3 questions or stick on 3 topics, we're only gonna be dealing with 3 topics. Let's diversify, let's be smart about what we ask for, what we care about, so that he can answer them. I walk around these streets every single day, and everyone is always asking me for something, a question, always asking a question, right? Now is your time to ask someone with a little more authority than I have in Bill. And I want you to take advantage of that. It's extremely important. But I want to thank Mayor Bill de Blasio, being a council member, a progressive council member in the city council. My job gets a lot easier when I have someone in the other side of the wing, the other wing in City Hall, that shares my values, shares the values of a lot of people here about equity and taking care of the neediest people, and that be our priority always and first. And I'm gonna always do that. And having you there has made our life much easier. And I know today we're gonna do something that speaks to that work that we do together that makes this community better every time. So I wanna thank you for being here. I'm excited to get this going. A quick shout out to the 2 ladies here, Marisa Davila and Nidia Velasquez. I grew up in the political school of women, to say the least. It's a powerful thing. To Eric Gonzalez from Lindsay Park, from our community, to see you in DA, we're very proud of you, brother. Thank you so much for all that you do as well. All right, and without holding it any longer, I want to introduce you to the mayor of this great city, Bill de Blasio.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, everybody. Well, I'm going to talk about your councilman in a moment, but first I want to really note, I want to amplify what Nydia Velázquez said. You know, it is a beautiful summer night out, and there's a lot of things you could be doing right now. It's the end of August, but look at this full house right here. Look at a community that is active, that is engaged, that is ready to make a change. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all you do. And there's a lot of great people here tonight, and some of them have been at this work a long time. I got to give a special thank you and shout out to a guy I've known now almost 30 years, Luis Garden Acosta. Thank you for all you have done for this community. I know it does your heart good to see this room full of people fighting for the community. And I have to say to everyone, you have really extraordinary leadership here. And I love all the neighborhoods in New York City. Now, I'm from Brooklyn. I'd just like to note that. I'd just like to note that Brooklyn is an especially special place. Wouldn't you agree with me? But I love all the neighborhoods. But I also note that some neighborhoods really have tremendous leadership. So I want to thank everyone. I'll tell you, first of all, I was a youthful volunteer on Nydia Velázquez's first congressional campaign. My hair was a different color. And when a lot of us fought originally to see Nydia sent to the Congress, we could only dream of the impact she would make, and she has fulfilled all those dreams. She's been a wonderful, progressive, strong voice, not only for this neighborhood, not only for New York City. By the way, she stood up for 3.5 million Americans who are being given a raw deal right now. They're called Puerto Ricans, and they're part of this country. They are just as much a part of this country as everyone else, but the way Puerto Rico is being treated right now, they never would see that in any state of this country. You would never see the mistreatment and the lack of resources and the lack of support. Nydia's been one of the strongest voices calling for justice, and we will prevail eventually. It will not be easy, but we will prevail. But she's been an extraordinary member of Congress. Let's thank Nydia Velázquez for all she has done. And Maritza Davila, I want to tell you, we've been dear friends a long time, and when she knows the community needs something, what's a nice way to say she's a pain in the butt? What's a nice way to say that? Yes, persistent, thank you. She is persistent, but always in the name of good. And I want to thank you because I know you feel the life of your constituents. You have lived what they have lived, and you care, and you fight for them, and you make sure that we deliver every day. Let's thank your assembly member. And I want to amplify what the DA said. DA Eric Gonzalez has been our partner. He's right. Great year, safest year in our history in 2016, and he's right, we're going to be safer in 2017. I want to predict to you we're going to be safer even more in 2018. And the DA has been a big part of that. Let's thank him for all he has done. I want to give a very special thank you. Antonio, talk about starting leadership young. Let's thank Amelia Cervantes for doing the Pledge of Allegiance. Wasn't she great? How old are you, Amelia? How old are you? Turning 8, that means she's 7 now. Okay, who here would have gotten up in front of a crowd when you were 7 and done that? That's pretty amazing. Congratulations. And finally, I want to point out to you all these great people over here. Because here we have so many people make this city work who do so much that affects your lives every single day. First, a special thank you to all the leadership of the NYPD here who are present, who've done an outstanding job. And then you have here the people in charge of the agencies that make such a huge impact on your life. And so when we talk tonight about a whole host of issues, I'm going to speak to them, but we're also going to hear from people who actually run these agencies, who are working every day to try and make things better for this community. At the end of the meeting, if any issue you have raised has not been covered, you can feel free to come over and talk to them directly. It's like the bonus part of the meeting. You can come over and talk to any of them and raise any issues you want to or follow up with them, and these are people you want to know because they can make a difference for everything you care about. Now, you might think to yourself, it's going to be a very long night. They work so hard during the day. You're probably feeling a little bad. You're going to keep them here late, right? You wouldn't want to do that to them. But I'm going to tell you not to feel that because they are so devoted to their jobs, they will stay here all night if you want them to. That's how good they are. Now, finally, I want to talk about your council member. Antonio Reynoso has made a huge impact in the city council already. And he may be new, he may be young, but he has been an impact player. He came in and he immediately said he was going to fight for fairness for this community and a lot of other communities that have been given a raw deal. And he was so smart about the way he handled himself. You know, he cared deeply about the issues of sanitation and whether there had been fairness for this community. He knew there had been a lot of unfairness for this community and some others as well. He wanted to make an impact. He didn't just talk about it. He didn't just think about it. He made himself the chair of the sanitation committee so he could make a huge impact on it. And I'm going to talk about a few specifics tonight, but he has really shaped, in many ways, the thinking of this administration on these issues because people have come to recognize his integrity and his heart and the fact he's done his research, he's done his homework, and that has been true on affordable housing as well. He's been one of the strongest voices for affordable housing in the City Council. And we're going to be doing something very special in a few minutes that Antonio was one of the leading people in, and it's all about fairness for tenants because to his great credit, your council member does not think that a status quo where tenants are mistreated is acceptable. He thinks that's not fair, and we're going to fight for tenants, and the City of New York needs to do more for tenants, and we're going to do something tonight to start to change things for our tenants. And so many other areas as well. And only thing I want to tell you, if there's one problem with Antonio, it's that he's only got about 3 more months of getting a full night's sleep before the baby comes. So around about December, if Antonio has trouble completing his sentences or he says things that don't make sense, you'll know why, okay? But congratulations, Antonio. Let's give him a big round of applause for all he has done. Now, look, I'm going to say a few things up front, and then we're going to open up to everyone. Well, we have an important piece of business to do right over here with these pieces of legislation. But right after that, we're going to open it up to everyone. But I want to state at the beginning what I think is on a lot of people's mind and what a lot of people have been living, which is the changes that have happened in Brooklyn. And I moved to Brooklyn in 1992, so I have seen so many of these changes firsthand myself. And it's been a shock to all of us, because I don't think anyone could have expected the prices to go so high. I don't think anyone could have expected our own neighborhoods, and so many people in this room built these neighborhoods, made them great, fought for them in the tough times. Who could have imagined some of what we're seeing now? And wherever I go, I say, not all these changes are bad, but some of them have caused real problems for communities. Some of the changes we've experienced have displaced people who shouldn't have been displaced. And the laws weren't strong enough, and the city didn't do enough, and we have been trying systematically over the last 4 years to change that, to defend the interests of people who have been here through thick and thin. And we did, I did my State of the City address this was not this year, the previous year, we did a video and we talked about everyday New Yorkers who had benefited from our affordable housing program. And there was a very powerful segment, a woman from Brooklyn named Luz Santiago, and she said something that really gripped me in this video. She said, you know, you go around Brooklyn and you see the galleries and you see the cafes, but this is, she said in this video, she said, this is our Brooklyn too. This is our Brooklyn too. And that really grabbed me as what we need to think as we fight for fairness and balance. It's not that every newcomer doesn't bring something good with them too, it's that we have to do more for the people who are already here. And that's what we're focused on. So, this is my introduction to a very important point. If we're going to change things and protect affordability so people know that they actually can live in their own neighborhood, we have to do things differently than we did them in the past. And I want to give you an example, and I think it's a painful example. Back in 1983, Greenpoint Hospital, that site went into limbo in 1983, and is still that way today. It makes no sense in a community desperate for affordable housing that that prime site has been sitting there for all this time. It makes no sense at all. So I've talked to the council member about it many times, and his persistence has been effective, and I'm here to make a formal announcement that we will be moving forward a plan to create 500 affordable apartments and supportive housing apartments on the Greenpoint Hospital site. So it's been in limbo for 30 years. It's not going to be in limbo anymore. Give him a congratulations because he fought for it. Now, your council member has also addressed the issue of the lack of parks in this community, particularly on the south side. And he has told me about the lack of parks. He's told me more about the lack of parks. He's told me again that there aren't enough parks. Are you getting my point? It's been the kind of, at a certain point, I'm like, Antonio, I know there are not enough parks. Now we have to figure out something to do about it. So here's what we're going to do. We're looking to the future to big, big plans, and we're going to work on them, but right now there's some things we can do right now, and I want to announce the things that I know we can get going right away that will affect people's lives in just the next few years, particularly for our young people. So we are going to invest $13 million to improve parks here in this council district. We will invest $8 million in the William Sheridan Playground. Right now, if you play there, you play on asphalt. We're going to put in field turf so kids have a real field to play on. We're going to rebuild the playgrounds. We're going to rebuild the basketball courts. We're going to rebuild the handball courts. And we're going to put $5 million into Marcy Park. So we're going to put in new lighting, we're going to put in new pavement, we're going to put in a whole new dog run so that the grassy area can then be a grassy area for people, and new sitting areas. We're going to totally make that a better park for the community. Have any of you ever watched television late at night and they got those advertisements where they're offering something and they keep adding to it? You know, for $19.99 you get this, and then you get this other thing too, and then they say, but wait, there's more. Remember that? So it's my time to say, but wait, there's more. Okay, this one's a good wild card. We're going to work out a plan with Councilmember Reynoso and the whole community. He's going to lead a community engagement process with us to take a site that right now has important things happening on it for our children, but a lot more could happen there. And we want to figure out with the community what more we could do, whether we want to put in a recreation center, whether we want to put in affordable housing, or all of the above. This is the site at PS 319. And it's a site where we're going to be able to add important new amenities for the community with a process led by your council member. Now, I mentioned I'm going to do a few more because it's nice to hear some good news for a change, isn't it? We turn on the TV, we open the papers, we don't get enough good news. You came to a town hall meeting, isn't it nice to get some good news? So I'm going to give you some more. This council district, everyone knows, and this has been the council members' focus, it's an unbelievable fact how unfair the history is in terms of garbage coming into this district. And if you think it feels unfair, you're right. It's nearly 40% of all the garbage in the city comes into this one council district. And that is not acceptable, and that has to change. We're in the process of opening 5 major facilities in other parts of the city to create fairness, to make sure everyone takes a share of the challenge. And one of them is actually my home in Brooklyn, in Park Slope. It's right there, about 10 blocks away from my home. And this is one that's going to open next week on September 5th, the Hamilton Marine Transfer Station. Next week. And this will take over 100 garbage trucks a day off the streets of North Brooklyn, per day. Another crucial piece when it comes to righting these wrongs of history, Councilmember Reynoso, working with Councilmember Steve Levin, have authored a bill. It is called Intro 495, and what it will do is basically cut the amount of garbage coming in to Community Board 1. It will cut in half the amount of garbage that facilities in Community Board 1 are allowed to process. So after a lot of deliberation and a lot of work, because when you write legislation, when you write law, that's forever, so we really work to get it right. But I am here to announce to you that the administration will support Antonio Reynoso's bill to make that change for the community. Now, I'm just going to do a couple more, and then we're going to open up in just a moment. We talked about the fact that the city is safer, but we also know there's more to do. Getting safer is good, but so long as anyone is suffering, we have more work to do. And we know there are some parts of the 9-0 precinct where there are real challenges with gang activity, with drug sales, and we want to particularly focus on getting our young people away from bad influences and helping them on a positive path. We've had tremendous success around the city with the Cure Violence movement, grassroots movements in each community that help to keep young people away from violence, away from gangs. We're going to create a version of this here in the 9-0 precinct. We're going to create a local public safety coalition, and we're going to hire young people as peace ambassadors for the community. We also know that we can use technology to make us safer. So one of the things that's really worked is amazing technology called ShotSpotter that allows the police to know instantly if a shot is fired. It's allowing us to stop a lot of violence. It's allowing us to catch a lot of people with guns who are not supposed to have them. We will be expanding ShotSpotter in this district. It will now cover Bushwick houses, Borinquen houses, Highland houses, and Williamsburg houses. I'm going to do one more thing before I talk about what we're here to do today with these pieces of legislation. One more thing, I should have said it back when I was talking about the parks and all, because it kind of fits with that. This has to do with schools, but it also has to do with our kids getting the chance to play and to get physical education and to be healthy and to be strong. So my kids went to New York City public schools, and I know that that chance during the day to have a chance to play, to have a chance to be involved in physical activity, that's part of learning too. That's part of what makes a child healthy in every way. If a child gets physical activity, it actually helps them focus on their studies as well. But we know there are too many schools in New York City that do not have a gym. And so it's impossible to give the children what they want. I announced earlier this year, working with the City Council, that we're now, over the next few years, going to make sure every school in New York City has a proper gym facility so they can actually do phys ed for every kid. So I am here to tell the community that PS 81 and PS 18 will have standalone gymnasiums for the children of those schools. And we will start construction next year, and they will be open in 2019 for all the children of those schools. Last thing I want to say, and it has to do with legislation. As this city became safer, as this city gained jobs, as this city overcame a lot of the pain and the challenges that afflicted this neighborhood and many other neighborhoods for years, we enjoyed the blessing of those changes, but then, as I mentioned earlier, we got an unintended consequence. We got something we never expected. We've got the challenge of gentrification. And with the challenge of gentrification, for some people in the private sector, their very worst instincts came out. Not everyone, but for some, the most unscrupulous things were done by some developers, by some landlords, all in the name of greed. Rather than respecting the people who had built the neighborhood and suffered through the tough times and stood strong, all they could think about was how to kick people out and jack up the rent. That's what happened. And we have, over these last 3 years, tried to figure out every way to stop that, every way to create real consequences for these bad actors. One of the things we have done, by the way, if some of these activities by these bad landlords allow us to, we refer the matter to the Attorney General so criminal charges can be brought, because that's the kind of severity that people need to understand. But there's so many other instances where it may not reach that level, but it's still very, very painful to people, and it still leads to people being displaced or illegally evicted or harassed or not given heat or not given hot water. So one of the most important things we did a few months ago, working with so many great advocates, working with the council, we said, here's a simple concept. Since landlords will go to housing court with lawyers, we're going to send everyday New Yorkers to housing court with lawyers too. So I signed the Access to Counsel law. Every New Yorker threatened with illegal eviction, harassment, anything like that, can call 311 and get legal assistance. And if your family makes $50,000 or less, you will get given a lawyer for free to go to housing court with you and defend your interests. But even that, as good as that was, we need to do more. And Councilmember Reynoso has been in the lead. We need to strengthen the laws because too many landlords, even if the tenant went to housing court with a lawyer, the laws did not create enough penalties. They weren't tough enough. They weren't strict enough on this kind of bad activity by landlords. They let landlords have too many loopholes for this type of harassment. So there's a package of bills, 18 bills, all aimed at toughening the penalties on bad landlords, tightening up the rules, making the definitions stronger in the law so that in court tenants could win more when they're treated badly. 18 pieces of legislation passed out of the City Council. 15 of them I signed earlier today in Manhattan. Well, now we're going to do something we've actually never done at a town hall meeting. I'm proud to say, council member, you are an innovator. We're doing this for the first time. We've got 3 pieces of legislation right here. Now, these bills, one creates a watch list so we can keep an eye on contractors who do work to help landlords harass their tenants, because some contractors are only too willing to be the partners of the bad landlords in this. So we'll have a list where we keep an eye on them and make sure they are constantly monitored. The second increases the fines for any of these contractors who work without a permit. So there's real monetary fines against them if they do that. And the third increases the fines if they violate a stop work order. So the whole idea is, if you're trying to harass a tenant or help a landlord kick them out, these are the ways that we put real consequences to stop that kind of activity. Now, all 3 of these bills are sponsored by a council member named Antonio Reynoso. So, I just need to know if the people want me to sign these bills. I can't hear you. Do you want me to sign the bill? Ladies and gentlemen, hermanos y hermanas, these bills are now law. All right, I'm passing it back to our moderator, and now we will open the floor to the people of this community.
All right. Thank you, Bill. That was great. Thank you so much. I always said if I was going to come into the city council that my job was to maximize the amount of resources we bring into this community. I don't want to get the mayor in trouble, but I'm pretty sure that is the most that a mayor has initially given to a community before he started a town hall. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it. All right, so now we start with the questions. And the format is you just raise your hand, and I'm going to point at you. They're going to run at you with a mic. You ask your question, and then we move on. Respect your neighbors by keeping it brief. A wise man once told me the 3 B's to public speaking is be brief, be intelligent, and be gone. And we're going to do that. And I'm going to be a police officer, so I'm going to speed it up.
One topic per person.
And 1 topic per person. But I do want to call, I have someone here that I do want to call, though, Miss Fraser from Highland Houses. Let's give her a round of applause as well. Where's Miss Fraser? There she is. All right.
Mayor de Blasio, I want to thank you for the people that came with the rats. Now we no longer need the police to take us out the building and direct traffic between us and the rats going, you go. And I have two other things I'd like to ask you.
I gotta do one. I know you're a very important leader, but it's one per person. Choose your favorite.
Okay, we need new compactors.
New compactors.
Yes.
Okay, in Highland houses. We have the chair of the New York City Housing Authority and CEO, Shola Olatoye. What can you tell us about compactors?
Good afternoon, Ms. Frazier. Thank you for your question. So, thanks to the mayor's generosity in the rat mitigation effort, you will have a new interior compactor that will replace the, I think, 30-year-old one that's there now. So we expect to do that, if not by the end of the year, this year, the first beginning of 2018, to address the trash and all of the issues that you're facing there at Highland.
Excellent.
Okay?
Thank
So
you
it's
very
coming.
much.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Now, let's go ahead. David Lopez.
Sir.
I don't need the mic. Mr. Mayor, thank you for signing this anti-harassment legislation, both earlier in the day and today. We thank you for that.
All right, thank you.
For those especially. My name is David Lopez. I am the chairman of Los Sures, an organization that since 1972 has been in the forefront and in the good fight to preserve, maintain, and develop affordable housing in this community and throughout this city. Mr. Mayor, 4 years ago, the working people of this community supported your candidacy for mayor because we knew and understood your history in working with progressive unions such as 1199. Having supported the candidacy of the first mayor of African-American descent in this great city, we also knew and understood your important and vital role towards this historic effort. My question is, first, understanding the great importance of affordable housing to this and every community, the importance of the arts in education, the importance of community
You're doing a lot of good things. You got to choose one in the end you want to ask about.
No, I might not ask the question because you took it away from my hands.
Okay.
The importance of community and recreational spaces towards these purposes, and the importance of ensuring the legacy of institutions such as Los Sures and El Puente that have served these purposes historically in the past. I was going to ask you what's your position, but you already gave us your position.
I gave it to you.
So now,
Good.
I'll have to go to the second part then. And it's pretty much a simple question, and that is understanding that we, throughout history, throughout our times, working, have donned different hats for different times, different occasions, and different situations. What do you think of the one I have on?
So he wants to know about
That
his
was good.
hat.
That was your plan B, to ask about that. I think it's a pretty cool hat. Give him a round of applause for that fashion
All right.
statement he's making.
All right.
And thank you for all you've done for the community for so many years.
Yes, go ahead.
Hi, good evening. My name is Dana. I run a social justice organization
I'm coming.
with Antonio's support and Chief Madry and all the people over there. But my question is, in 2016, 99% of in-school arrests were Black or Latino students. In this district, Grand Street campus, a school whose administrators have been under investigation for misuse of funds at various times, was tied for the most in-school arrests in this city. While your office and the DOE has made important policy changes and allotted $42 million for restorative justice practices, it doesn't seem to be having an impact on practice or culture in the school that continuously uses illegal disciplinary practices and doesn't provide students the resources, support, or education that they are entitled to. What can you do to hold the school administrators accountable to ensure that our students are getting the services that they are entitled to?
Thank you for the question. And where's Dorita here? Yes, you're right in front of me. There we go. So before Dorita speaks, Deputy Chancellor Gibson, look, I want to be very clear. I appreciate the question very much and the spirit in which it's asked. You're exactly right. We believe in restorative justice. We believe a lot of unnecessary arrests occurred in the past. We believe a lot of unnecessary suspensions occurred in the past. Well, again, let me just do it in my words. And we believe that there was obviously a skew racially, demographically as well. So we have been trying to systematically change all those realities, replacing the negative measures with a series of positive measures. And it parallels a lot of what we've done with the NYPD across the board. And I want to give school safety a lot of credit, because school safety, I've been in a lot of meetings with them. They believe in the neighborhood policing model and the equivalent for the schools, which is sometimes you use a warning or a warning card rather than go to something more punitive. And we work with the restorative justice option as often as possible. And we have seen different schools approach it differently. And we want uniformity. It's never going to be exactly uniform, but we want uniformity in adherence to these principles. So, Deputy Chancellor, what can you tell us about what we're doing about Grand Street? Right, I just said, what can you tell us? Hold on. One thing, folks. I'm here to answer your questions. You have to listen to what I say so I said, tell us what you're doing about Grand Street. Go ahead.
Grand Street, not just Grand Street, but I appreciate your question. We agree with what you're saying. We do want children to be safe. We do want them to have good relationships with our NYPD. We do have Team Up Tuesdays, and that's what we're doing. But a lot of good things have happened at Grand Street in the recent months. And I think that a lot of changes has come to us, and we've been working very hard to work with the school leaders, the parents, the teachers, and everyone together. It's not an easy thing, but we are working with it. We don't want children to be arrested unnecessarily, and we do want to increase our restorative justice programs and our guidance programs in all of our schools.
So we believe we're making the changes there, but to add to it, the Deputy Chancellor will meet with your organization and discuss the specifics of what we're doing for Grand Street.
And you can tell me specific things, but we'll connect.
So you'll follow up. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. I'm gonna ask we're gonna do one section at a time so people can feel like it's fair. And we're gonna try to get a lot of questions in. And I just wanna say, I expect that Grand Street campus will not be tied for first place in students arrests next year is what I'm hoping. Okay, that's very important for us. Yes, go ahead.
Good evening. Thank you, Mayor, for coming to Williamsburg, and I agree with Nydia Velasquez. I've been in this neighborhood since 1964, and I've never seen a mayor come to Williamsburg. My name is Dialis Fuller. I'm the chair of Community Board 1. I also co-chair the Brooklyn Mitchell-Lama Task Force. And my question is preserving the Mitchell-Lama housing part of your housing plan? And if so, how?
Thank you very much for the question. So the Mitchell-Lama program was one of the best affordable housing programs ever created. Largely now regulated by the state, but there are ways that we can get involved and that we can have a positive impact. So from HPD tonight, come on over, Deputy Commissioner, before we get a more expert answer than what I will tell you the basic ground rule. Ground rule is we're looking for every opportunity to intervene anytime a building might be coming out of Mitchell-Lama. We have every interest in keeping it affordable. So if the state is in a position to make that happen, great, but if not, the city looks for every way to intervene and not let it slip out of affordability. But each one has to be handled very individually. Take it away, Deputy Commissioner.
You're welcome. Good evening. I'm standing in for my Commissioner Maria Torres, and I'm Anne Marie Hendrickson, and I run the Mitchell-Lama program. So what we do, as the mayor said, we try to work with each Mitchell-Lama to see what their physical needs are. We look to refinance them, and when we do refinance them with our tools, we're able to lock them in to long-term affordability. So again, I'm willing to talk to you later about any specific Mitchell-Lama, because many of them have gotten refinancing from HPD and have been able to lock in for longer-term affordability. Okay? Luna Park?
That's Lindsay Park.
Oh, Lindsay Park. Well, Lindsay Park, let me talk a minute about that. Lindsay Park is going to get a $60 million loan. $60 million. It's going to replace...
Hey, Deputy Commissioner, let's make sure they know that's not 16, that's 60. $60 million.
$60 million, okay? It's going to replace all 28, it's going to repair 28 elevators. It's going to repair all of the roofs. It's going to put in new circuit breakers. And let me just add a plus that the council member, your council member, put in his own money out of his budget to help support those repairs. So, okay, it's only one question per person, but we will talk, okay? I will be here, as the mayor said, as long as I need to be, okay?
If you're in a section that was just called, I'm not going to call on you. I'm going to move on to the next one, and we're going to go around in a circle, and we're going to keep calling on every section. We got him for 2 hours. The faster you ask your questions, the faster he responds, the faster a neighbor gets to ask a question. So we're going to go here now. Yes.
Buenas noches, señor alcalde y concejales. Mi nombre es Luz Rosero, soy la presidenta de la Organización de Vecinos Unidos 1. Le damos muchas gracias al concejal.
He'll do it.
Hello.
He'll do it. The
I'll
council
translate.
member will
I'll
translate.
translate it. I got it.
Council member's got it.
Go ahead, sigue.
Le damos muchas gracias al concejal Antonio Reynoso por su liderazgo con esta campaña. También le damos gracias al alcalde por su apoyo por los inquilinos de Nueva York. Muchas gracias. Hoy fue un día histórico. Un gusto de verlo hoy y muchas gracias por firmar la ley de estándar por TENA 6. Mi pregunta es todavía, ¿queda una pieza de legislación pendiente sobre el Real Time Informe? Queremos saber si usted apoya esta legislación.
Just summarize the question for
She's asking, even though we've done a lot of great work when it comes to tenant safety, the real-time enforcement is an issue that's of concern to them. And that wasn't one of the pieces of legislation in the Stanford tenant safety bills that were actually passed. So she just wants to know what the status of the real-time enforcement effort would be in HPD, which is one of the only one that wasn't passed in the STS bill. So I guess that's what she's asking.
Yeah, so thank you very much for the question. Thank you for the great work
Gracias
that
por
your
su
organization has done. I am not familiar with that specific legislation, but I can tell you our vision is to very aggressively enforce on all the legislation that we put forward today. And we want in every way possible to show landlords that there's going to be very serious consequences if they harass tenants in any way. It's also very important that we're providing the lawyers to defend tenants. So again, we need enforcement of our own legislation. We believe in this legislation, and we will have very aggressive enforcement efforts. And I'm certainly happy to talk with the councilman on potential additional legislative needs, but we're already ready to get going on the enforcement right now.
Él se siente cómodo que con la legislación que tenemos en este momento vamos a hacer mucho progreso. Sabe que tenemos que hacer más y vamos a hablar internamente para ver si hay resoluciones fuera de legislación y de legislación en el futuro que pueda arreglar el problema que usted dijo. Pero muchas gracias, se lo agradezco.
Thank you. Hi, I'm a steering committee member of Organizations United for Trash Reduction and Garbage Equity. I want to thank you both very much for all the hard work you did on reducing the garbage in our area. Thank you. My question, though, is how is the city planning to address the added truck traffic, air quality issues, and traffic safety issues related to the organics pilot in Brooklyn CB1?
Related to, say that last part? Related to, say the end?
The organics pilot.
The organics?
Organics pilot.
The
So the
organics
city of
pilot.
New York,
Oh,
the
okay.
city of New
The
York
organics
expanded.
pilot. Okay. So the congestion and safety issues related to organics pilot. So this sounds like it's 1 part DOT, 1 part sanitation. Why don't you both come up? So as they're coming up, so first of all, let me speak to organics. We believe this is really important for the long term of this city, to reduce the amount of waste that's going into landfills, to reduce the amount of traffic on the streets. Ultimately, we've got to change the whole approach to how we handle everything that goes into the waste stream. And it's important for the earth, too, in terms of everything happening in global warming, that we constantly reduce how much we're trucking trash all over the world and stop sending stuff to landfills. So there's a very important reason behind it. That being said, we need safety on our streets, which is what Vision Zero has been all about, and we're applying the Vision Zero initiative everywhere, and Commissioner Trottenberg's in the lead on that. We obviously understand the specific burdens on this community and the problem of congestion. So putting your minds together, what are the mitigating efforts we're taking around this location?
Why don't you start and then I'll...
Hi, I'm Greg Anderson. I'm the Chief of Staff at Department of Sanitation, filling in for Commissioner Garcia. So we are actually really proud of the organics collection program, and we're actually even more proud that it's no longer a pilot. We are expanding organics collection to every single community in New York City by the end of next year as part of our plan to send zero waste to landfills by 2030. And really, the great thing about this program is the way that we're doing it in partnership with Harry Nespoli and Local 831 of the Teamsters is as we're moving material from that garbage truck into the organics truck, we're reducing the number of garbage trucks that are coming down your block. So the more you do, the more you divert, the fewer garbage trucks you have, and so from a congestion perspective, the net impact is almost zero.
But I'll just say on the transportation safety front, DOT and sanitation work together very closely all over the city wherever there are sanitation facilities. Our local folks have been working on the ground on this one. We can talk to you about more of the details if you have particular concerns, but we always recognize where we have sanitation trucks in a sanitation facility, we have to make sure we've got the right street design, the right truck movement, so we're making it as safe as possible.
The thing that's on our radar is that we understand that there's going to be 18 additional trucks per day as a result.
So I could say, actually, Intro 495, now that the mayor supports it, when passed, is going to cut capacity by 50%. When that happens, it pretty much caps the ability for the city to put contracts into our community, forcing them to have contracts in other communities. So that's why our legislation was so important. So I feel very confident that once we pass 495, they're going to have to be more creative about where they're sending their trash because they can't send it here anymore. So let's wait for 495. All right, go ahead. Let's give her. At this rate, we're only going to get 10 questions. Let's ask them quickly. Go ahead.
Good evening,
Hello, Gwen.
everyone. Thank you, Antonio.
No problem.
Thank you, Mayor de Blasio, for coming to our community. I'm representing Williamsburg houses across the street.
Closer. There you go.
And our concern is, let me get closer.
Please, get closer. Get
Our
closer
concern
still.
is, this is a very old development. We wanted the first development for NYCHA. We need new boilers, and we need new pipes. We go by block 1, 2, 3, 4. Every winter, a whole block have no heat because we have no boilers. NYCHA don't have no money because it's not in a mixed finance to give Williamsburg a new boiler. Recently, some of our tenants' apartment is backing up with sewer because the pipes is old and it's busting. We need help.
Okay. Now, let me say, and
and our roof.
And the roofs. I got you.
Our
Joe
roof.
was coming over. So
We have leakage from the roof to some people's apartment that is causing major damage.
Yep.
And
We got you, Greg.
NYCHA don't have no money.
No, NYCHA does have some money now.
That is true.
So,
All right.
NYCHA has been deprived for decades, particularly from the federal government. But we are trying as best we can to start filling the gap. So I put $1.3 billion into the NYCHA budget for roofs and other physical repairs. So in terms, it's not enough for everything, but it's a beginning. For Williamsburg houses, what can you tell us you can get done on these important issues, Chair Olatoye?
Don't do us like y'all did the cameras.
Excuse me?
Don't do us like y'all did the cameras.
No, we're talking about new things here. Come on.
I just want to make sure.
And just
Thank you for your question. So first of all, you are right. You are actually the second oldest NYCHA development, or about 82 years old. So you are absolutely right in terms of the age of the infrastructure. First in Brooklyn, all right, first in Brooklyn. We know that there are significant issues with the pipes. We have staff here. The head of my heating division is right here, Mr. Knapp, who's going to talk to you specifically about the issues. The mayor is right. He has allocated significant resources for roofs, and we're going to continue to work with he and our state legislators to identify more resources. If there's specific apartments, and I want to say this to everyone who's here, if there are specific apartment issues, we have a team of staff immediately in the back who will be happy to go to your apartment this evening and look at and address any issues that can be addressed right now. But specifically, the broader capital issues are something that we can talk about offline.
Yeah. And Gwen, we're going to get you some information about the timeline for the roof repairs as well. So thank you. And that's a shout out to Williamsburg houses there, the rooftops. Let's go, let me go a little further back because then people they think it'll be something else. So with the green, sure, there you go. No, you don't leave your seat. You're running. All right.
Thank you so much. Good evening. My name is Marta Bayona from the Community Educational Council from District 32, and this is in Bushwick. Thank you so much for this meeting, Mayor de Blasio, Antonio Reynoso, Ms. Davila, and Nidia Velasquez. My question is regarding to the radiological site that sits at the border of Ridgewood and Bushwick, known as the Wolf Alport Company, now called the Superfund. The question is, what is the city doing to inform the community in Bushwick about the site and the coming cleanup?
Say the name of the site again.
Wolf Alport Company is a Superfund right now.
Where's the cross streets? Give me the cross streets of that.
It sits right at the Irving and Cooper Avenue.
Okay, so it's I don't know about it.
Sorry,
because,
I'm not familiar with this.
Yes,
I'm looking
it's
to
not.
the council.
So we want to answer that question. So that question is outside of my district actually. I represent Bushwick, everything west of Hart Street and south of Central. So unfortunately, that site I'm not familiar with. I think I want to give an opportunity for somebody to be able to take the information and answer your question.
Michael Deloche there from the Department of Environmental Protection is going to follow up with you directly.
Yeah, because the mayor is here, so I wanted to know what the
Thank you
city
very
is
much.
Absolutely, smart. So I'm gonna give this section another shot because that question was not necessarily within the district. So go ahead.
I have one important question for you.
Put the microphone close.
Okay.
There you go.
Do you know about the Pfizer site, the housing site?
Yes.
Right? Pfizer? Okay, we have a concern about that. We are concerned about the exclusion of Spanish and black families from the Pfizer site. What guarantees could you give to us that ensure that there will be 1, 2, 3 bedroom apartments for families making $20,000 to $30,000 a year?
Yeah, so let me tell you the facts about that site. Hold on a second. Okay. That development will have 287 affordable apartments. 172 of them will be at what's called 60% of AMI. You may be familiar with it, but I'll translate for the rest of us who are not used to that.
Okay.
It is for a household of 3, income between $36,000 and $48,000. 115 units will be what's called 40% of AMI. That is for households of 3 who make up to $36,000. So that's the income level. The vast majority of the units will be, wait, I'm trying to answer his question, brother. The vast majority of the units will be 1, 2, 3 bedroom. And we are going to make sure that the process for distributing those units is done by an objective lottery that the city will monitor and control. So there will not be discrimination allowed in how those units are given out to the community. Thank you.
Thank you. And now, this section is gonna get a go and a pass because it's all the police officers here and they're not asking questions. So you're gonna, so you're gonna get a go. Go ahead. So you're gonna get the first go. Don't go moving over here because the questions are faster.
Thank you for taking my question. My name is Sarah Shapiro. I'm an educator. I work with the New York City Department of Ed, Office of Adult and Continuing Education. It's the best kept secret in New York City. I'm here with 5 of my colleagues. Between all of us, we have 150 years of teaching experience.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think everybody will agree that immigrants are coming to New York City in droves, at least until our current administration in Washington. We have over 1 million immigrant students in the New York City public schools. We service the parents of those students. Right. We are concerned as educators because as we see the need growing for these immigrant adults to learn English, to learn about the community, to get work skills.
I need a question.
Okay.
Yes.
We're presenting the issues here. The number of classes are decreasing rather than increasing. We see a problem with that. We think that the Office of Adult and Continuing Education Department is not servicing all of the families that need our help.
Well, I want to separate those two concepts because you're absolutely right that there is, we have your very important fact you raised. We are our largest immigrant population in this city in almost 100 years. And by the way, as I tell people, wherever I go, we have the largest immigrant population we have ever had. We're also the safest we've ever been, and we have the strongest economy we've ever had. And that's something to think about. Hold on, I'm still answering over here.
Okay.
So we have put a serious focus on trying to help people with adult education, adult literacy, helping people learn English. And the council has been very active in funding those initiatives. I don't know of any change in the level of support for that at this point.
I'd like to just make one last comment. This is a part of the Department of Ed. We had 725 classes 4 years ago. We are now down to a little over 600 classes. We think that the program should be expanding. There is a need. It should not be
Okay,
shrinking.
you've made your point. You really have.
We are asking
I'm trying to answer your question. So
All right, so
you got it. You got it. Give it right.
So she's
give it
going to
right
answer
there,
because we
have
want to make
answer
sure
the
everybody
question.
gets a chance to ask questions. We
So
got it.
I don't know of any diminution, and through our budgets, what can you say?
So it is not our budget, first of all, but I thank you for your question. It is state funded, and the state pays us money to do this. They are UFT teachers, though.
Okay.
But we do want to make sure that all of the parents and adults that really need to be educated want to have a class. What we do is that we make sure if there's space in any of our schools, we open up the space and then we open up the classrooms that way. I'd like to talk to you afterwards to see where you think there's more classrooms needed, and then we'll work on that. But it is our program, the DOE is running it, but it's not funding by the Department of Ed, it's not funded by the city, it's funded by the state.
So I want you also to hear from Bitta Mustafi, who is running our mayor's office for immigrant affairs.
Yeah, hi. I just want to add, thank you for the question. Just this year, the administration reinvested $12 million in literacy funding. And so that money goes to the kinds of programs that you're talking about, and we can connect after to make sure that we're hearing the concerns that you have.
All right, so we're going to ask, we want to ask these questions quickly. I want to let's see how many people raise their hands before I'm even near them. So we just got to ask it quickly. So I'm going to do this first. Quick, muy pronto, nada más la pregunta lo importante. La pregunta, dígamelo. Espere el micrófono. And we want, so don't preface the question with history. Just ask the question, okay, guys? We're going to get through this. It's going to be a lot of fun. So sigue, ahora sí.
La pregunta es que van a ser viviendas accesibles para las personas que tienen documentos, pero han pensado en las personas que no tienen documentos y que estamos siendo acosados por los landos y no podemos tener rentas accesibles.
So she asked, we're building affordable housing for the poor, but people that have documents. For undocumented immigrants here in the city of New York, it's very hard to find affordable housing. Just wants to know if there's a way we can deal with that issue.
Well, I'm going to see between Bitta and Deputy Mayor, excuse me, I gave you a promotion, Deputy Commissioner Hendrickson. It was great. Congratulations. If they can answer, because I'm not familiar with how we handle undocumented folks in our affordable housing, but I will preface this by saying we are trying, with every legal tool we have, to support undocumented New Yorkers who are 500,000 of our neighbors. So whether it's ID NYC or whether it is providing a whole range of services, pre-K and health services and so many other things, and now even to the point of providing legal support if, God forbid, anyone is faced with deportation. So we're trying to use every tool we can. There are some legal limits on what we can do because of the national laws. So I don't know how we handle it when it comes to affordable housing. Please explain for everyone.
Good evening, and thank you for your question. For affordable housing, it is problematic, okay? But if you happen to have a child that was born here, that may assist you in getting affordable housing. What I'd like to do is connect you. We have housing ambassadors, and Los Sudes is a housing ambassador for us. So what I'd like to do is connect you to Los Sudes and see if we can work through some of those documents. Does that sound fair to you? to see if we can figure something out, because it's not an easy question to answer, and I don't want to speak out of turn, okay?
I, just want to add, as the mayor said, that there are a lot of resources available to you regardless of your status, including an attorney, if you find that you're being discriminated against. And you cannot, under the city's local human rights law, be discriminated against in the context of housing based on your immigration status. So we need to hear about that and want to connect to make sure you know how to file a complaint if that's happening.
Just to be clear, federal laws make it so that we can't award folks affordable housing if they're immigrants. But we, as a city of New York, are trying to figure out ways that we can get through those, build loopholes, so everyone can get housing in the city of New York. And Los Sures is a partner in making that happen. They do so in their sites that are privately owned by them and not managed by HPD. So now we're gonna have a question here. Let's get one of the young people first, right here. You go ahead. The mic, right, left, behind. Let's give it a, this is El Puente Youth.
My name is Naya. I'm from El Puente. And
Cause the mic close to you.
my name is Naya. I'm from El Puente and I live in Bushwick. And my question is, why are after-school programs for high school not receiving the funding that they need when they're important and it's not attached to school?
And wait, I missed the last part. They're important, and what was the last part?
And they're not attached to school.
They're not attached to school, okay. So the answer is, we are trying to do more and more after school. The thing we did, and I want to see how many people in this room know this. I want to test this as I'm answering your question. How many people, you have to give me the honest answer, how many people know that every middle school student is guaranteed an after-school seat? How many people know that? That 6th, 7th, 8th graders are guaranteed an after-school seat. Okay.
Bob Monahan knows.
Everywhere I go, I keep telling people this. Please, we've got hundreds of people here all involved in the community. Please spread the word. If your child's in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, or you know anyone with a child in 6th, 7th, or 8th grade, they get after school for free now in New York City. It's a guarantee. So please spread that word. But your question is about high school. So we have tried to expand. We've doubled the amount of after school, but we made a focus on the middle school level because we thought strategically that would have the biggest impact. My answer to you would be really about resources. If we continue to have resources, I'd like to go farther with after school. If some of the things we're facing in Washington hit us the wrong way, you know, the president has suggested very big budget cuts for education and for housing and lots of things. If that happens, we are not going to be in a position to add after school. So the answer I want to give you so that you know your point is being heard is we found after school has a very, very positive impact on each individual, and it's very good for the community, and it's good for public safety. We've put a lot of money into it. It's been a good investment. We're not yet in a position to expand at the high school level. Although some high schools are doing it, we're not yet ready to do it for the whole city. But if our economic situation strengthens, it would be something I'd like to see happen. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right here with the gray first. We're going to do the gray. You're going to go next in the next round with the gray. Yes.
How you doing, Mayor? Thank you. I'm from Bushwick. I've been in Bushwick all my life. I also want to thank you. I love the community, NCO, and my Brooklyn North. Yo, let's holla. Come on, man, wake up.
Up for the police.
Holla. There you go. You the best. My question is, why can't we raise the MIH for more affordability? You know, they're disenfranchising our seniors. My kids can't move. I can't kick my kid out. You know, he don't want no one bedroom. I want him to have kids. I want to be a grandpa. You know, we've been here all our lives. We need to have more affordability.
Yeah.
30%, 35%, 40%. Then we working. When Bushwick was burning, nobody wanted to be here. So now we want to reap the reef and have my kids stay living in Bushwick.
Amen.
And that's what we want. We want you to try to push for more affordability, MIH. What can't afford for you can't not be afford for the kids in Bushwick. So that's what we need.
Thank you, Camacho.
So I want you to be a grandfather too, okay? It's a good goal. So the MIH is called, it's mandatory inclusionary housing. And first, to define it just for everyone's benefit. This was a law we passed. No big city in the country has a law this strong. It requires developers, if they come to the city for permission to build, it requires them to create affordable housing. So I will remind you that just a few years ago in the previous administration, developers got to do pretty much what they wanted, and if they were asked to commit to affordable housing, they'd make a commitment, but it wasn't binding, and then a lot of times the affordable housing would not happen. So we decided it needed to be a matter of law. It needed to be legally binding, and it's as simple as this. They create the affordable housing, or they're not allowed to build. Or if they try to create the housing and leave out the affordability, we can literally stop them from building right in the middle of the construction. So hold on, we're one step at a time. So that is a basis now for changing a lot of things to have a legal mandate. I remind you, it is 25% in certain cases, 30% in other cases. The standard previously all over the city, all over the country was 80-20. We increased that. If you're talking 30%, that's literally 50% more affordable housing than it used to be, right? From 20% up to 30%. So that's a step in the right direction. Now, that is not the end of the discussion, because we have developments where we do more than that. We do 50% affordable. We even have ones we do 100% affordable. And our goal is to keep looking for every opportunity to do the most affordable housing and then to drive down the income level too. So we started out with an initial plan, and in this last budget, we added $2 billion. Now again, I want everyone to understand this. I want to have real talk here. To increase the number of lower income affordable apartments, we added $2 billion more dollars. It's not enough still. It doesn't reach by any stretch of the imagination all the people we want to meet. But it's $2 billion more is an example of the level of commitment we have to continually pushing down the income level and reaching more and more people. We are going to look in the next year for how we can go even farther. But my point to you is, I don't have a perfect solution, but I can say the city is moving much more aggressively than ever before to make more affordable housing. Remember, the current plan will reach 500,000 people. 500,000 people will either get into a new apartment or have their current apartment subsidized and will be paying a third of their income in rent. That's the current plan. And we want to even go farther than that. So that's going to help your family.
So, and also, for the folks of the 34th district, any developer that comes to this district and wants to build, MIH is the floor. It is nowhere near the ceiling. That's the least we're gonna get. So just wanna give you a heads up that I'm gonna be looking out for you to make sure that we maximize affordable housing. And I also wanna fast track projects like the Greenpoint Hospital that's gonna be 100% affordable and make sure that we get that as low as possible. So I'm gonna do 2 people here. Listen, the faster we go, there's gonna be like 20 more questions to go. Everyone's gonna get answered. But I want to go with the young lady and this man right here. They're going to ask 2 questions. I'm going to come to everyone. And I love everyone too. Believe it or not, I love you all. Okay. Well, I'm going to try to, yeah, exactly. Yes.
Okay, good evening.
Miss Speaking.
My name is Clara Spuglia. I'm from Make the Road, New York, Community Board 4, and 3 more other organizations. I'm part of it. I'm here with the voice of Bushwick. My question is, the Bushwick rezoning discussion, they say that the new affordable housing created will not be affordable to the lowest income family in Bushwick. Now, I'm asking, can you guarantee us that if the rezoning moves forward, the lowest income families will not be left behind?
So I want to talk to that because this is a process that I started in this community. In no other area in the city of New York has this happened. What I did is I wanted to make sure that I empowered the community to do its own rezoning, that it's not something that comes from developers, and no offense, it doesn't come from the city of New York. It comes from us, and we're gonna give Bill a plan that we like. The good thing here is that the agencies that the administration has been working with us, the Small Business Services, Economic Development Corporation, HPD, and all those organizations, DCP, the Department of City Planning, they've come out and they've sat with us so that every time we say something, for example, we don't want a building to be more than 6 stories, DCP will tell us, oh, that means that that's an R6B. All they do is give us the technical advice as to what we see, what we want Bushwick to be, that it's exactly what we want it to be. I'll say this, though. When it comes to affordability, what we need to do is make sure that we find every single site that the city owns, as many of the sites that the city owns, and make sure that we can build affordable housing there. That we think about going higher in places that are owned by the city of New York when it comes to height, so we can get more affordable housing, and lower when it comes to income. The ELA program allows us to go to the 25, 30, 35, 40% affordability. So we gotta find the city-owned sites and worry about those. And then the rest of the project in Bushwick is preservation. About 90% of the work that we're doing is to preserve Bushwick so that we don't take away from its character. That the 1, 2, and 3 family homes actually stay the same, and that we can maintain that so that Bushwick can stay Bushwick. And that's the work that we're doing now. And then we can't make any guarantees, but we can't make any guarantees on affordability because the plan is still happening. And the Bushwick Community Plan, with 70 members of Bushwick, have not made a decision yet. So we don't even know what we're looking at. So let's wait till that comes out, and then we'll start being critical of the plan. But the plan has no suggestions just yet.
But the answer, thank you very much for the whole picture there, but the answer to the specific question, of course we want a substantial amount of the affordable housing to be for the lowest income levels. But I want everyone to understand, we do the rezonings. If we believe we can create a lot of affordable housing, that's why we do a rezoning. It's also an opportunity to make a lot of investments in the community. When we do a rezoning, we also spend a lot of government money in the community to create a lot of other things the community wants. And as the council member said, there's parts of the community that could be preserved with the current levels of height and one thing. A lot of things happen at once. They only happen if there is a rezoning. So I want people to be very clear about this. When people hear the word, they think about some of the challenges. I don't blame them, but there's a whole lot of good things and a lot of investments that come. If there is not a rezoning, those investments go to another community because they go wherever the rezoning happens. That's the reality. So we look forward to a really close relationship with the community and working on a plan that everyone can believe in. Thank you.
And then right here, very quickly, it has to be quick. Give me shoot it.
Okay, I'm going to shoot this question out. First of all, I want to thank Councilmember Reynoso and Mayor de Blasio for the stand for tenant safety. I'm with an association. My question is, how can we take it to the next level? Unfortunately, I live under GRJ LLC, and he's the type of flipper landlord that threatens us with buyouts aggressively, as well as just as recently as last week, he's picking us off one by one, going through the association and using legal tactics to break people out of our association, and that goes against our First Amendment, peaceful assembly. And so, I need to protect people in my association, and I wanted to hear what is the next legal effort we could, ask you to consider.
Thank you very much for the question. Look, I want to warn everyone, I appreciate this question a lot. I want to warn everyone, and please spread the word. When landlords are trying to buy out their tenants, it is usually a bad deal. Okay, but no, you say, of course, and I'm glad you are. You're a smart New Yorker. But a lot of people, and I don't blame them, if someone doesn't have a lot of money and a lot of money's dangled in front of them, it seems very appealing at that moment. But no, you did not win lotto. It is a bad deal in the vast majority of cases because what happens is when someone loses affordable housing, you're not going to find new affordable housing very easily in this city. So if you're planning to move to another state, maybe it works for you. But for most people who are staying here, the buyout is really fun for 6 months or a year, and then you realize you painted yourself into a corner and you can't afford housing. So we really urge people to be very, very careful and to be very cynical about the buyout offers. Commissioner of Social Services Steve Banks is going to talk about how we can help legally if there's an attempt to entice people into buyouts that are legally questionable or to harass people into buyouts. Here's what we can do.
So in addition to the universal access to council legislation that the mayor signed into law, first in the nation, as rezonings have been occurring, the mayor has funded legal services programs to try to address displacement and harassment such as you described. You're absolutely right. There are lots of things that can be done that are legal right to the line, but we do have the ability with the tenant support unit and also with the legal services providers to give advice and counsel to tenant groups or individual tenants to see if there's anything we can do to be helpful. The most important thing, as the mayor said earlier, if you think you're being harassed, call 311 and we can refer you to somebody, but we're here tonight and we'll have someone follow up directly with you to see what we can do to help, if there is something to do to help.
We gotta ask. I'm sorry. Look at the amount of hands I gotta deal with. So
We'll
we're
talk to you
gonna
about that.
follow up with you personally, one-on-one. And remember, we're gonna be here till 10 o'clock asking questions. We're gonna try to do the best we can. And I want to go again to go ahead. You guys can go ahead, and then I'll come back down here. Go ahead. It's
From
right
the
there.
back.
All the way in the back. I'm going to the back here. I'll come back to the front. La próxima pregunta yo llego adelante, okay?
Thank you for allowing me to be here, Bill and Mr. Reynoso. My name's Diana Cabrera. I'm a proud member of Local 3 IBEW. I'm here to give you some bad news. It's 156 days and we still do not have a fair contract. Yesterday, they sat down, Spectrum sat down with Local 3 and gave us 2 minutes. And they don't want to give us a fair contract. They want to take away our pension and our benefits.
I know all about it.
I know that you
Yep.
know all about it because I was outside of your office in
Yep.
June. And I know that you were at the city council meeting. I need you guys to press because this is 1,800 families. We can't have a right to work state. This is a union town.
Yep.
And the people that work at Time Warner Cable, at Spectrum, at Charter,
Okay.
they
Thank
are,
you.
wait,
I got you. No, seriously, we got a lot of other issues. I'm going to speak to them and give you an update.
Son afroamericanos, son haitianos, dominicanos, colombianos, boricuas. Son la gente que necesitan la ayuda y el apoyo suyos.
So lo importante es saber que nosotros estamos en el mismo equipo
Okay.
con este
So
contrato.
on this question, it's a very important issue. These workers have been out for a long, long time, and this company is not trying to solve this problem. So I spoke to the CEO directly a couple of weeks ago. I told him the city of New York was very, very concerned about what he's doing. I've been to the picket line. I spoke to the president of your union literally today about additional things we could do. This company has a lot of money. One of the highest paid CEOs I've ever seen, 98 million he makes. And so far, we have made very clear to them that this is going to be a big problem, but they continue to not treat the workers right. We're going to look for every conceivable tool we have to stop what this company is doing. I don't have, and I want you to listen, I don't have a simple answer for you. If I could have solved it already, I would have, but we're going to keep the pressure on 110% to try and help these workers. Keep going.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Now, we're going to move on to this section. All right, so you have to be very quick over here. We're going to be quick here. I'm going to ask 2 questions, but it has to be quick. Go ahead, right there with the yellow.
My name is Adelaida Perez. I'm a senior from David Santiago's. First, I want to thank you for the support you have given us.
Thank you.
My question is about the BQEX. When is going to be started?
When is?
BQX.
Okay.
I'm very excited about
The BQX, this is the Brooklyn-Queens connector.
it. Yes.
Okay, the Brooklyn-Queens connector is the light rail between Astoria, Queens, Sunset Park, Brooklyn. We are planning on getting the construction begun at the end of 2019, beginning of 2020. And over the next it's going to take a little while. It's a whole new thing. Remember, we're not in a position, the MTA is not building more subway lines, but we are creating things like new light rail and ferries and select bus service. Is going to be another way for people to get around. So coming soon, coming soon. Go ahead, Antonio.
Buenas noches. Sí. Me siento muy orgullosa de que está aquí hoy representando y sus representantes. Yo quiero hacer esta pregunta rápido, la tenía muy larga, pero voy a tratar de ser lo más breve posible. Yo soy la madre de un militar que está activo y en la corte yo estoy siendo desplazada de mi apartamento. Así como muchos de mis compañeros de lucha, soy miembro de Maidero, New York, y hemos visto...
Usted tiene,
sí,
la pregunta va a ser que usted tiene 2 cuartos, pero el hijo que está afuera no cuenta como una de la gente del apartamento y le queremos mudar a un apartamento de un cuarto, ¿verdad?
No. Ellos me están sacando. Tengo 2 días solo para salir del apartamento. Pero yo estaba supuesto allá a una corte militar y no me pusieron en la corte militar, en la corte de
¿Pero qué es el
vivienda.
problema? ¿Qué es el problema? La pregunta es.
La pregunta es que, ¿qué van a hacer con nosotros cuando los derechos nos los niegan, verdad? Cuando nosotros tenemos nuestros derechos y sabemos que hay fraude, porque aquí de ese apartamento donde estoy siendo desplazada, tengo la prueba aquí que hay fraude. Aquí está la prueba. Y eso es lo que queremos
I'm
justicia
not
porque para
100%.
eso trabajamos.
Ok, John, y le voy a decir porque no estoy 100%, no entiendo la pregunta 100%, pero lo que usted está diciendo, she believes that there's some issues with fraud and some legal issues that are not being addressed in her case for her apartment. So I want to get like HPD to maybe talk to her and deal with
Deputy
that.
Commissioner is going to follow up with you personally right after this. Speak to the Deputy
Gracias.
Commissioner after.
Gracias.
Thank you.
You guys have to be quick. Go ahead. Go ahead. You got to be quick. Lightning speed.
I'm going to read this just the way they told me to read it.
No.
Do the fast version.
That's the
Mr.
question.
Mayor, and it's taken me 50 years to be here.
That's a good
I'm
start.
57, so I'm counting myself as that
Vamos,
little
vamos,
girl.
la pregunta.
The neighborhood has some of the worst asthma rates in the city. And we have very few parks, as you had mentioned earlier.
Yes.
We have no parks with a nice patch of green, beautiful grass. Fortuitously, there's going to be work done on South 3rd, South 4th, and South 5th Street bridges that cross over the BQE. That run over the BQE are past their lifetime. That's why that's part of the infrastructure.
So what's the question? We need the question, brother.
Well, and the need for the rehab of that, they can be replaced with platforms, larger platforms that could cover that expanse of the BQE and create a park right above it.
This the BQ Green?
BQ
Okay.
Green initiative.
So let me speak to it. Thank you for the question.
And I know that you're going to have to work with the state because it's sort of a state city.
It's a challenge. So look, let me start, and the council member will jump in. I've seen renderings of what this could look like, pictures imagining what this could look like, and it's very impressive. I don't want to for a moment belittle what an amazing impact it could have. But I also want to be very honest with people. We don't have the money now. It was something that, if it happens, is many years in the future. That's the honest truth, because the cost estimate begins at $500 million. It's a very big, complicated effort. But it is a really good idea at the same time. So what I'm going to instruct my people to do is, it's not something we can do today, but to look in our future planning for any opportunity to act on it, because we know this community needs a lot of open space. Thank you, brother. Amen.
All right, awesome.
Thank you, brother.
Okay, quickly. 1 and 2. Well, I'm going to let all three of you go, but you got to be quick. Go to the back. If you guys, just the question, no preface. We just want the question. Don't even thank us. Don't thank us. Go. There you go. 1 sec. Go ahead, ask it. He's listening.
Good evening. Just had a quick question in regards to industrial uses and
Get closer.
industrial uses and industrial jobs. I wanted to see how we can further restrict the current uses in M zones and see
Right.
how we can get the restaurants and the bars out and keep the blue collar jobs in.
Thank you. So, I know this has been a big concern for the council member. And, well, the council member's walking away while I'm saying nice things about him, but that's okay. I don't know what we're going to do about things that are there already. So I want to be just clear about that. But I do know that going forward, we want the manufacturing spaces to be job creating in the manufacturing area. So I think there are enough nightlife establishments, for example. That's not what we need. We need more manufacturing and higher quality jobs. Now, I will also say there are places where we think affordable housing can work. So I'm always looking for opportunities for affordable housing. But in terms of job creation, with all due respect to nightlife, that's not my focus. My focus is on higher paying jobs, including the manufacturing jobs. So that's what we want to focus on, the manufacturing zones.
How you doing? My name is Greg Bishop. I'm the commissioner.
Even though I'm glad you're here.
Oh, okay. Who's talking about industrial jobs?
I think we're good. Thank you. But he's a great commissioner,
Right.
Greg Bishop, but we're done.
Okay, yes, go ahead. I'm going to help you out because I'm closer.
Good evening. My name is Michelle Navas. I am a tenant at 98 Linden Street, and I'm actually here today to say thank you. For 18 months, my kids and myself and my mother went through having no kitchen and no bathroom due to the harassment of our landlord. And thanks to Antonio Reynoso, his staff that are here, you, sir, Nidia Velasquez, Mr. Eric Gonzalez, Ken Thompson, may he rest in peace, everyone that helped out the community. This bill means a whole lot to us. You guys have no idea what it is to go through what we went through, my family and myself, for 18 months without a kitchen and bathroom. But we fought hard, we kept going, and I know, I'm 100% sure that what you guys have done today, I came here because I wanted my kids to witness the signature of the bill. That means a lot to us. It means a lot. Thank you.
We're very proud of you. And I want to thank you for fighting for this legislation. And I got to tell you, people, when a tenant stands up for their rights, it is a symbol of strength for all other tenants to see a tenant fight so hard and to get justice in the end. Let's congratulate her for all she's done.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, for coming. I represent GREC, Greenpoint Renaissance Enterprise Corporation, about the Greenpoint Hospital. Thank you for getting us, having it on your mind. Please dispel the myth at HPD that a local community developer cannot do the right thing on this site. GREC already runs 4 of the sites. We put a community center there. We've been fighting for it for 28 years. We took 200 beds of a homeless shelter so that we could get the whole thing done as one parcel.
Right.
Please give priority to community developers like GREC.
Thank you. So, first of all, thank you, and thank you for what you've done. It's very important for the city. It's not only on my mind, I made a public commitment tonight of what we're going to do, because we have made that decision very formally. With anything we do with designating such a major project, we're going to go through a process. I want to be very straightforward. We're in an environment today where the legal requirements and the checks and balances are such that we're going to have a formal process. But we also do believe that community-based developers have a lot to offer in the process and can achieve some things that others can't. And a track record's a very big deal. So in the way we construct the process, those realities are going to have a lot of weight. So it'll be an objective process, but you will have a lot to your advantage in that process. Thank you.
Okay, yes. Education question. What is your chancellor going to do to fully fund and accommodate our quality community schools like our MS-50 in Los Suras, and protect it and them from co-located charter school expansion, predation, and in some cases already, closure?
So, hold on one second. You said it's 50 you're talking about, right? MS-50, okay. So look, the vision we have had, we certainly have worked with the broader charter school movement. We've worked with them on pre-K, we've worked with them on after school. But we've also been very clear about the ground rules in terms of space. As you know, there have been some charter schools that asked for space in a way that we did feel was appropriate, we've agreed to. There have been others that we said it was not appropriate, and we've turned down. The fear some people have in the city that if a charter school wants space, they will get whatever they ask for, that is not how we have handled things. We make a school-by-school decision, and if we see the existing school doing well and needing more space, that's one of the reasons why we will not allow another school in, because if an existing school is thriving, we want to keep it thriving. So that is how we approach it. I don't know enough about MS-50. We'll certainly look into it, but that's how we approach it. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, so go, yes?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor. First, I'd like to thank you for
Closer.
signing the 7 bills Monday. And secondly, I'd like to ask, what is going on with NYCHA as far as the properties that they have throughout the city? There's a rumor going around that Hope Gardens is about to be sold or auctioned off, and the tenants are very concerned. Like the Bushwick houses, they are concerned that their services have gone down. They're not getting the services that they once got, and they're concerned about this rumor. We understand that a project up in the Bronx was sold or auctioned off.
No, I want to dispel this. I appreciate you raising it very much. I've said from the beginning, and this is how we've lived for 4 years, we do not believe in privatization, period. We will not allow privatization, period. There are ways we can get private sector investment. While we control the land, we control all the decisions on what happens going forward, we control what the maintenance will be like, everything. We keep it in public control. We do need investment. The number that Shola has made clear is there's $18 billion in need. $18 billion in need. We have been contributing more and more as a city, but there's no way we would have $18 billion. So we need private investment, but the only way we accept private investment is with us maintaining public control and veto power over any decisions. And we want to make sure the standards of the maintenance are good, and we want that private investment to result in better physical plant for the development. That's the whole concept. If the private investment didn't allow us to improve the physical reality, we wouldn't accept it to begin with. But we maintain control, 100%. And Shola will follow up with you, but that's for all developments, Hope Gardens, everywhere else. We maintain control.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor.
Where's the voice? I hear a voice.
Welcome to Williamsburg.
Okay.
But I'm a Bushwick girl. Mr. In the building, Mayor.
Keep the microphone close so we can hear you, but speak up.
I'm sorry.
There you go.
Welcome to
Thank you.
Williamsburg. Mr. Mayor, I see that you commend the police department for doing a fine job. What I would like to do is let you know that we have the best chief and the best team in Brooklyn North. So I would like Brooklyn North to stand up and we make some noise. Brooklyn North. I want people to see who's running our Brooklyn North right here.
Wow.
Guys. Everybody stand up. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go.
Now, wait a minute.
Chief Madry is the best.
He's great. He's great, but I have to say something to you, ma'am, because the council member's district has a small part of Queens, too. So hold on. So Chief Holmes from Queens North deserves some praise, too.
Yes,
Chief,
absolutely.
stand up. Give her some love, too. Okay? There you go. There you go.
All right. So go ahead. Questions. I'll come to
Good
you guys.
evening, Mr. Mayor and Councilmember Reynoso. First of all, let me just tell you, I did cut my hair, so you were not going to remember. When you were a councilman, I supported you on the Section 8 law that you passed.
Thank you.
That a lot of people are not still to today aware of,
Correct.
which prevents discrimination with anybody holding a voucher or a program. But here's the problem. The vouchers are so low and the rents are so high that that's their excuse and their way of just saying, we can't take your program. But that's not one thing. I want to say something else. I supported you as advocate. I've worked with your team as council member. I've worked with your team as an advocate. And I continue to support you today. I am a member. Please don't hit me. Community Board 5. Thank you, my council member Reynoso, right? And I'm one of maybe 3 at Community Board 5 that stepped out of the box and supported you when you used the Holiday Inn to house the homeless.
Yes.
Why? I've been homeless 3 times in my life. I don't care what anybody says. Well, there's over 100,000 children sleeping in shelters every night, where a few months ago was 60,000. By the time school starts, it'll be somewhere way over 100,000. Now,
I don't agree with that, but I'll do it in my answer.
numbers,
What's your
yeah.
question? 'Cause you're,
Oh, okay, so here it is. I'm at Community Board 5, and there are some people here from Ridgewood,
Right.
and Antonio has,
Okay.
come on, guys.
What's the question?
Yes, we are here to support you and Antonio as well. And we thank you for everything that you've done. But
Pregunta, you
I'm
gotta
going to
do the
make it
question.
fast.
He's
Now, here's the thing. There is nothing in all of Community Board 5 that I know of as a board member in discussion, in the plans, or discussed near or far-fetched into the future affordable housing. But here's the question I'm here to ask you. As a public health advocate, a former board member of the Commission on the Public Health.
Ma'am, I love you, but you got to ask a question.
Okay, so the question is
You
this.
said okay 10 times.
Yes.
What's the question?
The
Last
question
chance.
is, respectfully,
Last chance.
I'm asking for public forums regarding the 3 public hospitals that are being the discussions in closing, Metropolitan, North Central Bronx, and Woodhall.
Okay.
And I would like to see
Okay,
that happen
so let
before
me
the
answer
election.
that question. So on that question, there is no plan to close any public hospitals. There's the
Right,
answer.
That's important. Good job. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. Antonio. It's a pleasure, but I have some real concerns where I live at. I live in Lindsay Park. And Lindsay Park, HPD, there's no disrespect to HPD, because they have a history of not responding. They have a history of not taking how many people call. They got a history of going against the shareholders. They evicted more shareholders than the regular landlord. Now, in 2003, Zenith Management was accused of playing with the waiting list. So HPD supposed to monitor that list. But you know what? They never monitored the list.
Okay, I'm going to stop you respectfully in the interest of time. 2003 was long
All
before
right.
me. What do you need right now? What's your question?
Question is, they got 150 vouchers, Antonio, from HPD. It turned out they had 400 vouchers, and automatic, the vouchers was gone. And HPD did never respond. I talked to the commissioner. I talked to the...
I'm not hearing a question. What's the question?
The question is, HPD need to have an internal audit. Somebody need to be on HPD, because HPD is not an honest broker.
So we'll take care. So we're gonna have a conversation. HPD put forth vouchers in Lindsay Park. They feel that the process was not an open and transparent process, and as to how you receive those vouchers. We sent a letter to HPD to address those issues, and it seems like HPD sent an inadequate answer to the community as to what happened to those vouchers.
Okay, well, I'm HPD, I'm Anne Marie, and I apologize if anybody thought that that was not accurate or we didn't respond properly. The vouchers were issued on a first-come, first-served basis. There was a newsletter that was placed on the Everyone's door, okay, and we did first-come, first-served. We didn't get the intake that we needed, and we had to allocate the rest of the vouchers to other developments. All I can say to you, sir, is if there are other vouchers that become available, we are committed to working with the councilman's office to make sure the outreach efforts are improved and that everyone is notified of when they can apply.
So we can't go back and forth, but I'm going to respond to that, so you know we're working together to make that happen. Let's go over here very quickly. Yes, and then we're going to come to this section. The questions, please. Thank you, sir.
I appreciate the opportunity. I really feel like it's important I say this, but I feel like life is about dreams and opportunities. When you have an opportunity, you should follow your dreams. I work in Roosevelt Community Center. It's the second dangerous projects in Brooklyn. The only thing I just want to advocate is when there's greatness, darkness needs the light the most. And I felt that I'd be doing my community an injustice if I didn't just take the time to say that. If you could one day just come to 400 Hart Street, Brooklyn, New York, 11206, and visit my kids, for them to get to see the best mayor in the world, it would mean a lot. I appreciate this opportunity, but if I don't advocate for them, I don't know who will. Praise the Lord.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
So let's go here. You got to ask the question, baby.
Real quick.
Go ahead.
Real quick. Good evening, everyone. I'm Nelson Jamie, lifelong Brooklynite. I live in Lindsay Park, Mitchell-Lama co-op that HPD just spoke about, and we're going to be getting $60 million, right? Our buildings are under investigation by the DA for over 2 years now. We're $110 million in debt. And these people who have not been held accountable for anything that we've come to them as shareholders for the betterment of Lindsay Park are going to give the same irresponsible 21 board members $60 million. that is not going to be accountable, or is it going to be accountable, and how? Because we've been promised things before. Our maintenance has gone up.
We got it.
And nothing's been
We got
done.
it. We got
Nothing.
it. Good job.
And thank you to Antonio.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I will start, and you want to add. Look, I appreciate this point. I appreciate the previous point. We want to make sure that this development succeeds. We know there's been a lot of problems, a lot of missteps, debt, etc. Now, I appreciate the frustration. Now, where I come from, if someone says we're going to provide $60 million to help you, people would see that as a good thing to begin with. So I would ask you to remember that as a good thing to begin with. If you say to me, be careful, there may be a trap there, I take that very seriously. So I'm going to instruct HPD to work with our law department to examine whether that loan could backfire in any way or cause any unintended consequence. I think it's a very important warning, and we take the warning. But our intention, which we're going to achieve one way or another, is to put resources into those buildings to fix those buildings in a way that does not create an overwhelming burden for the people who live there. That's what we're trying to achieve.
Thank you, Mayor. The one piece I do want to answer to your question about accountability of the money, sir, the $60 million is a loan from the Housing Development Corporation. Okay, so every dollar we put in, we, the Housing Development Corporation, will sign off to ensure that work was done. So the money's not being given to the board, okay? The money's being given to the complex to get the work done, and the oversight will be conducted by the Housing Development Corporation in order to ensure the monies go where they need.
All right, so now we're going to go right here. We have this one right here.
Buenas noches, mi nombre es Antonio Tlapanco, en la Iglesia Unidas. Estoy aquí porque mi hijo lo mataron hace 6 meses, le dieron 14 balas. ¿Y qué tratamiento está dando la policía para asegurar que sus agentes aprendan a escalar conflictos y prevenir más muertes como la de mi hijo Sergio Reyes? ¿Estaría dispuesto a revelar los nombres de los agentes involucrados en la muerte de mi hijo Sergio Reyes si el fiscal del distrito continúa sin hacer nada hace 6 meses? ¿Y qué está usted haciendo para acabar con la larga historia de conflicto de interés entre la oficina de fiscal o la policía cuando los agentes son acusados de brutalidad policial?
So he's saying his son has passed away, was shot 14 times, and he wants justice for his son. He believes that the DA's investigation is taking too long, and there's been no accountability at the DA's office and no accountability in the NYPD. And he wants to know, when is it that we're finally going to get justice for shooting victims here in the city of New York?
Okay, thank you very much for the question. I want to express my condolences and my sorrow. My condolences to you and my sorrow at the loss of your son. I'm a father too. I have a 22-year-old son. I can only imagine how difficult it's been for you, and I'm very, very sorry for what you've been through. The district attorney is independent of the mayor's office. I have every reason to believe the district attorney takes this very, very seriously. I've seen how he's handled a lot of other situations. I think he's very conscientious, and I have every reason to believe he will come to whatever judgment he believes is right. It may not be as fast as you would like, and I understand why you are urgently feeling the need for an answer. But I do believe he's a man of integrity, and he will provide you an answer as soon as he can. And we try and learn from every situation. We try and figure out a way to do better in every situation. But there will be a process going forward with the district attorney, with the police department. And again, I'm very, very sorry for what you've gone through.
Gracias. Bridget?
Hi, I live on the other side.
Keep your microphone close and question.
Close. I have a question regarding the Bushwick community-based rezoning, which we've talked about a little bit tonight. The community seems very interested in public land assets, and considering them for either deeply, truly affordable housing or for open space uses. I'm wondering, my question is, why is NYCHA not participating with the community in the Bushwick Community Plan process? And how can we involve NYCHA in the process with the community as we're making these decisions?
We absolutely can. There's no reason NYCHA shouldn't participate. So that was easy. Yes, they'll participate. But look, the point, this is what I want people to understand about a rezoning. Everything can be put on the table. It could be public space, school needs, job needs, but I'm just for your knowledge so you can understand how we approach it. Any issue, certainly public housing issues and public housing needs, anything and everything can be put on the table. We try and figure out from a city perspective what makes it worth it. It's a huge, huge endeavor. It takes a huge amount of time at city planning and a bunch of agencies. If we're going to do it, we have to feel there's enough affordable housing, enough overall impact for the city. But the community and the council member can put anything and everything on the table, including NYCHA issues, and they will participate. Thank you.
Thank you. Right here.
My name is Shirley Marshall. I've been living in Highland since 1959. I worked 40 years, and I want to know why that the elevators and the doors are not constantly fixed. And I said, because we have a lot of tenants on crutches, wheelchairs, and all. And why is this taking them so long when they got cameras on every other floor, and you can't tell me who has broken our doors? And we got a lot of undesirables coming into the building.
Thank you very much for the question. And I appreciate the question, especially because you have been there so long and you've committed yourself to it. I will only say before turning to Chair Olatoye that we have been, again, increasing the investment in public housing, but there's a huge amount to do. That's the honest truth. Security, elevators, roofs, you name it. So we're trying to spread it out. We're trying to get to as many places as possible. It's always a challenge. But on the elevator issue, what can you say? No, you can go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Well, thanks to the mayor. Thank you for your question, ma'am. And we apologize for the inconvenience. But we know that that elevator at Highland is in need of replacement. And the mayor has actually allocated approximately $3.5 million to help us do that. So we're going to begin construction on that early next year so that you actually have a new elevator at Highland for the residents that live there. Your second point about identifying people who may be vandalizing our elevators, because we actually do fix them within 10 hours, we will partner with our management to make sure that we are looking at the tape and working closely with our colleagues at NYPD to identify any folks who might be doing any vandalism. Okay.
Thank you very much. Well done.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ron Wave, Local 32BJ. My question, Mr. Mayor de Blasio, is I know a lot of folks here are concerned about the proposed development at the Pfizer site. My union 32BJ shares those concerns. We are particularly concerned because the record of Rapsky-affiliated buildings in Williamsburg and in Bushwick include wage theft, rent stabilization violations, and broken community agreements. What will you do if this project moves forward before those concerns are sufficiently addressed?
We thank you very much for the question, and thank you to 32BJ that does so much good in this city for so many people. Thank you for supporting affordable housing and so many other causes. We understand there's a problematic history with this developer. We're very aware of it, which means we're putting a lot of scrutiny on the situation to make sure the affordability happens, to make sure it is affordable in the configuration that we believe is fair to the whole community, to make sure that the lottery is done fairly. But obviously we care about working conditions too and how working people are treated. So I will instruct HPD to very carefully monitor the labor dynamics there as well and to follow up with 32BJ. Thank you.
Okay, we got one more right here. Yes, yes.
Got that?
Comience y deja el micrófono cerca de su boca.
Okay. Hola, mi nombre es Alma. Buenas noches. Pertenezco a los Sures de Lucha. Hubo un incendio en mi edificio y solamente fueron arreglados ciertos departamentos que no estaban ubicados para rentar en las rentas más altas. Nuestros departamentos de los hispanos no los no los han arreglado todavía. Mi pregunta
qué es
es
su
cómo se
dirección?
puede castigar a los landlords que son racistas y tienen doble estándar para inquilinos hispanos.
Sí, pues, okay. So her building was in a fire, and they fixed all the apartments that were not rent stabilized first, so they could get the income quickly. She just wants to know how she can get justice for the unfair treatment.
We're going to have Deputy Commissioner standing right behind you,
All
Vito
right.
Mostacholo, Deputy Commissioner of HPD, and he is going to work to make sure that the
Yeah,
rent-stabilized apartments are fixed as well. Thank you very much.
Good evening, Mayor. My name is Ana Traverso Kritzarek, and I work for El Puente. We've been engaged in doing a lot of community outreach work with youth and volunteers, mother volunteers, around the parks in the South Side. And we've found very alarming air particulate matter readings in parks, meaning that the air is polluted along the BQE, and that's where all our parks are. So I would like to ask you, what initiatives, how can we work together to improve not only air pollution in the South Side, which has serious health implications such as asthma levels in the community, but also address park equity in a way that could really create much more closeness between government and the community, and where we could further the CPI initiative around parks, because we feel that it's not really.
Look, I mean, that's exactly what we talked. Thank you very much for the question. It's exactly what we talked about at the beginning of the meeting, the investments we can make in the existing parks, the potential to create recreation space on the site where the school is now. The physical reality of the community is tough in terms of trying to have enough park space and have it farther away from the BQE. But what we can also do, which is the point we talked about earlier, because of the legislation, because of the opening of the Marine Transfer Station at Hamilton, reduce the number of trucks, which obviously goes right to addressing the asthma issue. So that's what we're going to focus on as well.
Okay, well, then we got one right here with the gray.
Hi, good evening, gentlemen. Could there be any future legislation presented to protect workers against union busting in New York City, such as Spectrum?
It's a great question. I always remind people our legal system, our federal laws, our state laws, and all are not as friendly to working people as they should be, and they're often much friendlier to business and private interests. So what Charter Spectrum is doing, I wish I had an automatic tool I could use to force them to stop at the city level. I don't. The best tools are at the federal level, but because of Trump, we now know if, for example, the union goes to the National Labor Relations Board, they're not likely to get support. So the honest truth is there's a lack of pro-union, pro-labor legislation in this country where it matters most, which is particularly at the federal level. That's a big change we're going to need. It's going to take time. Here, we're going to try and use every power we have to make it harder for Charter Spectrum to continue doing what they're doing, but we do not have something that automatically forces them to change. That's the truth.
Thank you. Oh, we're not clapping. Okay. Hello, my name is Roseli. I really hate talking in mics. So my question is, what can we do about schools? Because the schedules that I had when I was a senior, they built up so many classes I didn't need just to fill up my schedule. Like I ended up taking like 2 English classes and like a computer class. I don't need that. What I need is like classes that teach me how to learn how to drive and budgeting. Classes are gonna teach me long-term goals, not something that's gonna just help me graduate.
Okay, I appreciate that question. So look, I think it's sort of the same challenge as the previous question. We work according to state law that requires a certain amount of each subject matter. Sometimes at the city level, we can make some changes in that, but a lot of this is mandated statewide. And it's very traditional. Your point is a very good point, which is we want to teach more life skills. We want to teach more of the things that people need to actually get by. I, for one, now I end up having a very good job, right? I went to all those math classes and physics and all in high school. I was like, why am I sitting here? Okay, and maybe a little bit of I'm using today. There's a lot of other things I wish I could have had back then that would have taught me actually how to make it in the everyday world. So it's something we need to think about new ways of doing. I would like the Deputy Chancellor to follow up with you, and then Deputy Chancellor, bring this topic forward to one of my weekly meetings with the school, with Department of Education, because I think it's a real interesting question, like budgeting and financial literacy and other things that young people need. How do we make them more basic to the curriculum? Excellent question. Thank you.
Just a half hour, no more.
All right. You're popular.
So my question is, how can you continue to support and improve rezonings like the Pfizer rezoning, which convert commercial industrial areas for luxury housing that has some affordable housing, but which has much more unaffordable housing that not only it changes the neighborhood, but continues to promote displacement and shocking segregation within it. I'll just say one more thing, which is Community Board 1, which is Williamsburg and Greenpoint, has less than 5% black people. The borderline, Flushing Avenue, between that and Community Board 3, currently has over 50% black population. And these kinds of rezonings just exacerbate that condition as opposed to correcting it. And there's been a history of the city actively discriminating, not you, but prior administrations.
Thank you, Mark. And I respect the question, and I really respect and appreciate all you have done for the community, and I thank you for that. Look, this is an area where I have very strong feelings and a very strong difference of opinion with a lot of people I generally agree with, and there's a reason. I watched a number of communities in Brooklyn become gentrified with no response from the government whatsoever, and the impact of non-involvement from the government was pretty, from my point of view, troubling and overwhelming. Bed-Stuy, there was no rezoning in Bed-Stuy. There was no rezoning in Prospect Heights. There was no rezoning in Bushwick. There are a lot of places where there's been a huge amount of displacement and gentrification, and there was nothing about a rezoning that had anything to do with it. The market forces, and I've been very open about the fact that I wish I had more tools to constrain market forces, but the market forces have been exceedingly powerful. We have a choice. We could say, don't do anything and leave it be. I don't think that would end well for the community. We could say we will only build affordable housing and never involve ourselves with the private sector. That would deeply reduce the number of units that we could achieve, because there are only so many public spaces available, and if all the money is our own, it gets used up very quickly. We believe in taking the public money and leveraging private investment. I get why someone says, okay, if there's a fancy building there, there goes the neighborhood, and I know it does reflect in some of the services and stores and all that. But I believe when we're talking the level of affordable housing we're talking about, and you've been around a long time, so I'm going to remind people of the numbers. Over 2 million people, between 2 and 2.5 million people in rent-stabilized housing, and we have been reinforcing rent-stabilized housing through a different rent guidelines board. 400,000 people in public housing in NYCHA. 500,000 more people who will benefit from our affordable housing plan. You put that together right there, that's almost 3 million people. I believe we have to find every way to subsidize existing apartments and build new apartments, and we can't do it without some private sector involvement. I really believe that. And I believe that if we just stood back and did nothing or only focused on the relatively limited number of places we could do 100% affordable, we would not reach enough people. There would be literally tens of thousands of families we couldn't reach. So I appreciate the analysis, and some very good people like you have that analysis. But from my experience, I came to a different conclusion, and we're trying now through this program to reach as many people possible.
Thank you. Right here. Thank you, Marty.
Hello, my name is Christian. I would like to talk about, you just passed this bill that talks about house owners harassing the tenants. Well, what about the supers that work underneath them that are harassing the tenants inside as well as outside their housing, coming up to them, just violently acting out towards them? Like, what are you going to take actions towards that?
Thank you.
Well, you're more the expert on the details of legislation. Do you know if supers are also covered under?
Yes, they are covered as well. So that's also considered part of the harassment, especially if we can prove that they were sent by the landlord or invited by the landlord to do that harassment. If that's happening to you, I want to make sure you come to speak to Marty eventually, Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation, so we could bring resources to that as well. But it is covered.
My question is, first of all, I want to compliment you. When I listen to you speak Spanish, It makes me feel very good to, and respect you because you're learning our language, so you're learning to communicate with the people that don't understand English. So thank you for that. My question is, how can you provide security for after-school program from preschool to middle age? Because every year it seems that it's insecure, whether the kids are going to have after school, whether it's going to be enough funding or not.
Excellent question. I thank you for that. So, again, even though I'm very worried about the situation in Washington, because they are threatening federal budget cuts that could deeply hurt New York City, so long as we have anything like the current status quo in Washington in terms of the budget, we are going to maintain all of the current commitments. So, for example, pre-K is universal, every 4-year-old. The 3K initiative, which we're starting now in a few districts, we're going to build out over the next 4 years, will eventually be universal for every 3-year-old. The middle school kids, 6th, 7th, 8th grade, are now guaranteed an after-school seat. It may not be in their own building, because it really depends where the after-school is being provided by a community group or whatever, but it'll be in the same area. But every middle school student is guaranteed an after-school seat. That's in our budget. That is our permanent long-term vision. So that's how we're going to do it. We believe those things need to be universal for everyone.
Thank you. Tonya.
Do you have your
Tonya, ask it. Go ahead. He's listening.
I am Antonia Ortiz, and I am an active member of the Swinging 60s Senior Center. Mr. Mayor, we are so grateful for your help and that of Councilman Reynoso, Borough President Eric Adams, and Deputy Borough President Diana Reyna for your help in keeping Swinging 60s open and enabling the community to purchase the property to maintain the vital services offered through the Senior Center. Now that we have gotten rid of the old landlord, it's so important that we have the opportunity to continue the high-quality services. In the past 2 years alone, the Senior Center attendance has increased by 33%. That's because the quality of the experience, the activities, the food have all improved, and we are such a vital place in our neighborhood. How can we ensure that we continue the high-quality neighborhood-based management of the Swinging 60s Senior Center now that we have secure control of the building? Could there be a special RFP, which is request for proposal, for our centers just in this situation?
Okay, so our Commissioner for the Aging is here. Before she speaks, I just want to say, when we know this was a long fight to save this center, Councilmember did a great job. I want to say, not only do I want to congratulate all of you who worked so hard, fought so hard for your center, let's give them a big round of applause to them, but I have to tell you, who could say no to a senior center called Swinging 60s, right? I mean, that's pretty good. So we have taken a big step forward, and now Commissioner Corrado will talk to you about how we're going to keep working with you.
Well, I appreciate that update because that is, sounds like you've done a lot of work in trying to get more seniors into your center and having lively programming. As you know, a lot of your contract is pieced together with a lot of discretionary monies, and we're in conversation with those same principals, the council, City Hall, the borough president, to make sure that you continue the center and it continues to thrive until which time we issue an RFP and then you can compete. But if it sounds like you have something very good going, so let's try to keep it up. Thank you.
Oh, no, right here first.
Hi, my name is Mike Hoffman. I'm a member of Outrage, and I don't have a question. I have an invitation for you to come with us, Outrage, on the creek, and to see the waste transfer stations. You let us know when you want to go.
Who could say no to such a generous invitation? Yeah, it's the first time in my life I've had a group called Outrage invite me to see a waste transfer station. I mean, it's poetic. Thank you very much for the invitation.
Thank you, yes.
Good evening. My name is Katiuska Cabral, and my question is, as a working mom, one of the legislation that passed that I feel most proud is the UPK and now with the 3K. However, what is actually being done to actually back that up? Because everywhere you call, there's a waiting list of up to a year to get childcare. I just had a baby, and I'm going back to work in 2 weeks, and it's almost impossible. Everywhere I go, it's like, no, there's a waiting list, leave your paper, leave your information. So I want to know what is actually being done to support that, because, you know, I think it's something that was great in paper, but then how are we supporting this?
Okay, let me talk about you first. The council member has something he wants to say.
We do have slots available. We actually have 2 organizations that have spots available for pre-K if you want them.
Oh,
So
she's saying newborn.
Oh, newborn. No, that one I can't.
You
help
missed
you with.
that part. Okay. Yeah.
That I can't.
You're gonna learn the hard way in 3 months. Yeah, you're about to know. Okay. So the bigger answer is this. Thank you for what you said about pre-K and 3K. Look, we're working our way down. Is the reality. Once upon a time in this city, the idea of every kid who was 4 years old getting guaranteed pre-K would have been impossible. Then we're going to the 3-year-old level. That is allowing some organizations to refocus. Some of the neighborhood organizations that do childcare are now going to refocus their efforts on 2-year-olds and 1-year-olds, because there's a huge need out there. But it's not enough. So I'm telling you, I want to be very straightforward with you. There is definitely a gap. At the very, very youngest age, there's definitely a gap out there. We do not have an answer for that yet. I do hope what we do ends up creating more opportunity for more organizations to go younger and younger. But if we can find any way to help you, I'll have our folks follow up to see if we can locate anything that might be helpful to you. But it's going to take a lot to reach everything in the long term. Thank you.
And just a heads up, so Nuestros Niños does do 6-month-olds. So
do they have space?
And they might have space.
Okay.
So I'm gonna communicate that.
Wait. Now, hey, the council member has improved his answer.
Yes, Nuestros Niños. Is it? Oh, they're right there. All right, and they're right next to each other.
They do
So
6-year-old. He says they do 6-month-olds.
But a 6-month waiting list, though.
No, you said 6-month-old.
6-month-olds, yes. So we're just gonna have a conversation. We have a lot of daycare
Your
centers.
staff will follow up.
All right, sounds good.
We're gonna work
So
with
we're gonna go here first, then we're gonna go here and here, and then I'm gonna try to bring it down here. Oh, be careful.
Okay. Mayor, I'm just so excited about seeing you. I couldn't stand up. My name is Diane Jenkins, and I've been a teacher for 27 years with the Office of Adult and Continuing Education. I recently retired. But the reason I'm talking to you, Mayor, we have a problem. We have a problem because the program is being dismantled, it's being downgraded, it's not being properly supplied with materials, they're closing classes,
So, ma'am,
they're
actually,
replacing.
I think someone over there asked the exact same question earlier this afternoon about the
No.
continuing adult education.
She was talking about ESL. I'm talking about basic education. We do everything from literacy, where a person cannot read or write, through TASC, which is the GED.
Okay.
This program has had classes closed. Veteran teachers are being fired or harassed where they're leaving, and they have other teachers coming in that don't know what they're doing when they're trying to teach an adult.
Okay.
We need some help in restructuring this program. This is one of the largest adult ed programs in the country, and we help over 40,000 people a year. And I want you to know that we have over 1 million people in New York City without a high school diploma.
Thank you.
We
Yes.
are the ones that they come to in order to service them, and all our programs are free.
I got you. So it's a very fair point. I don't have an easy answer for you, but I can tell you this much. We do recognize that for a lot of people, they are not getting to opportunity. They're not getting the jobs. They're not getting the opportunity because they don't have that pathway to adult education. So we are planning on making additional investments. We don't have a plan yet, but we recognize we have to put more resources in general into adult education, GED, et cetera. This is something we'll talk about coming up to the budget we'll announce in January. So I don't have a plan yet, but it is on our radar. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Jasenia Filomeno, and as the CEO of a foundation about education, one of my concerns is that there's not schools for children with special needs. There are schools that they can go to, but a school that just specializes for children with special needs, I want to know what we can do about that.
Yeah, I appreciate the spirit of the question. I'm not sure I entirely agree with the question. I do think between District 75 schools and programs, I think we do have a lot of capacity. You want to speak to it?
We do, and I'll talk to you specifically what you're looking at, but we do have schools just for special needs students, and they're called District 75.
So why don't you follow up and go over?
I'll follow up
with
you
thank you.
afterwards.
Hi. I want to say thank you for all the action you've taken on climate and being a leader on that.
Closer.
In addition to the organics program, which is great that it'll be better distributed, the types of foods purchased mean a great deal for climate as well as our health. Would you consider the fact that red meat is like the SUV of food in terms of emissions? Would you consider sustainability guidelines around food as part of your action on climate?
In food where? When you say
food purchased, food contracts put out by the city.
for city agencies?
Yes.
Okay, yes, I would.
Now we're gonna go here and then here.
Hi, Mayor de Blasio. How are you today?
Good, how are you?
I'm quite, well, filled with rage over housing, but
Yeah.
you and I share a goal of affordable housing.
Yes.
However, the 421A program was wrought with issues. And one of those issues is that apparently since 2002, the higher-ups of HPD and finance came to an informal agreement to ignore the law with regard to forcing developers to finish their paperwork before they started receiving tax exemptions. Now, in our building and our developer, this has been very problematic. Not only did he not finish his paperwork for 8 years, but he lied to the tenants about it being stabilized. He shared metered with the tenants for the heating in the common
Where's
area,
Vito?
which coincidentally enough, he claimed to HPD he paid,
Okay.
and Vito allowed him to rip out.
let's-
Why are we not allowing or forcing HPD to use the revocation statute
Yep.
to force them into compliance rather than allowing them to go rampant through these
All right, so
neighborhoods?
let's let Vito
let me answer the top
Because
line.
it's not just my building, it's buildings all across this city, including 4 in Anthony's district.
So I appreciate it. Let me speak to the top line. The old 421A, we did not agree with at all. And in fact, there used to be tax exemptions for luxury condos and all sorts of stuff that was ridiculous. And you know we had a very big fight with the governor and others, and we got a better piece of legislation. Not perfect, we got a better piece of legislation. We are adamant about the standards around affordability being followed. And I have no problem in the world with taking back tax exemptions if someone has not followed the rules. Hold on. I believe you, but I'm trying to make the bigger point. What happened in 2002, long into the previous administration, they had a very, very different approach. We believe in clawbacks. We believe in, ending exemptions if people are not doing the right thing. So I don't know this building, but I want us to follow up on this building. This is beyond veto. It's also about the whole of HPD. This is assessing whether these guys need to have their tax exemption revoked, and that should be fully assessed. Do you want to speak to that piece?
Well, sir, if I can.
Yeah.
So, Ms. Thompson, right. Hi, how are you? Good. So I know that the law department is working with your attorneys on this case, but there's an active lawsuit, right, that's pending on your building.
Yes, we have to sue HPD because you're not doing
No.
We're doing it back and forth, guys. We're
Yeah.
done.
Yes, I hear you. I believe you. Go ahead.
Thanks.
Yes, I live in Williamsburg housing. I'd like to know, nobody said anything about the shelters. I want to know about that.
About them.
I want to know when they're going to start building them.
Okay.
Because you
So
said
she wants to know when they're going to start building the shelters?
Yeah, because you say you have 90 shelters
Right.
to be built, but when are you going to start doing it?
It's over years. It depends on, so let me explain the concept. In some communities, there will be no new shelters because they already have enough shelter. In other communities, there are parts of the city that have a lot of people in our shelter system, but no shelters in their community. Literally, there are community boards. There's one community board that has 250 people in shelter, but they're all outside the community board. We want every community to take its fair share, and we want every community to have a place for people who come from there and God forbid if they need shelter. Say again? I'm talking in general. I'm saying what has happened in the past is literally people were sent not just one borough away, but like 2 boroughs away from their home neighborhood. We want people kept, if they need to be in shelter, keep them closer to home, closer to their kids' school, closer to their church, whatever it may be. So some communities have no shelter and need some to begin with. That's one of the places we'll be building. Other communities, we're taking out the hotels that we've spent a lot of money on. We're taking out the cluster sites. We'll replace in some places with a new shelter. Some other places don't need anything new because they already have enough. And over time, we're going to try and reduce the amount. So it's literally case by case. Thank you.
And now, this is Zach. Come over here. This is a young man that's traveled throughout the city of New York, shaking hands with the NYPD.
And this is the 15-minute warning, council member. 15 minutes.
We have about five questions left, but I just Zach wanted to ask a quick question. Go ahead.
Hi, Mayor de Blasio. My name is Zachary. What are you planning for the homeless this winter?
What am I planning for?
The homeless.
The homeless. Zachary, that is a very important question. You're a very impressive young man. How old are you, Zachary?
8 years old.
Where do you go to school?
I go to school at PS 84.
PS 84. They're very good at PS 84. Give him a round of applause. Look how poised he is. All right, do you want to be city councilman one day?
No.
No? Do you want to be mayor?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry, Antonio. He's going for the gold here. So here's the answer. In this city, unlike a lot of other cities in this country, if, God forbid, someone becomes homeless, we help them. And we find them a place that's safe and where they can be off the streets. And this winter, we're going to do the same thing. The difference is now our shelters are a lot safer because during this administration, the NYPD took over security for the shelters, and they're providing the training and the leadership in the security of the shelters, which is much better. And we've also found a lot of new ways to help people get off the streets and get the help they need. So we're going to be ready for this winter to make sure people are safe. Thank you for the excellent question, Zachary.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay,
thank
five.
We got 5 questions, and I'm going to have
5
one on each
questions.
section. Let's go right here. She was here. How are you doing? Go, yes?
Yeah, so my question is...
It's 5 questions. The faster you are, the faster we only have 10 minutes.
Yeah, my question is, so as this neighborhood is very rapidly growing and expanding, we're seeing a lot of construction, scaffolding, things like that. We're also seeing a lot of this construction is unlicensed. In my building in particular, we're having a lot of renovations. They're throwing things out the window, no scaffolding. I've seen licenses on dumpsters, on scaffolding that's expired, wrong addresses.
Saying permits, okay.
Permits, I've made, exactly, the permits. And so I've made complaints to Department of Buildings. I've called 311. I've gone through all the avenues I'm supposed to, and I haven't had any response. So I'm not really sure what to do.
So we're going to give you a personal, high-level intervention from our Consumer Affairs Commissioner, Lorelei Salas. What can you do about this situation?
Yes, so the Department of Consumer Affairs licenses home improvement contractors, and we inspect those businesses, and if they are unlicensed, we will go after them and issue fines and penalties. So I'd love to take the address from you so we can take a look at that.
Okay, and will you go visit the building directly?
Sure, yes.
Okay.
All right.
Good to see you.
Okay. We're gonna go with Ms. D. Go in the back right here. We're almost. Go ahead. Somebody give her a mic. We have 5 minutes.
Hi.
We got 9 minutes. 9 minutes. Go ahead, Ms. D.
Quick question. My name's Lorraine DeAngelis, and I want to know what the Board of Ed's plans are to close the achievement gap and the funding gap in our schools.
Okay, thank you.
So, okay. Look, we saw in this last round of information we got from the state of New York, we see good news and bad news. The good news is everybody's achievement is going up about the same amount. The bad news is the gap is not yet closing. The plan we have, the Equity and Excellence Plan, is meant to fundamentally change the reality. So it's pre-K and 3K. It's starting with a foundation of early childhood, which used to not be available for a whole lot of kids, particularly less advantaged kids. It's getting overwhelming majority of our kids reading on grade level by 3rd grade, which we expect to achieve over the next 10 years. which is not tomorrow, but it's a huge change. Right when we came into office, it was under 30% reading on grade level by third grade. We want to get that up to as close to 100% or close to it over the next 10 years. So it's really foundational stuff if we're going to go after the achievement gap. I think the things that were talked about in the past, honestly, were not real, were not sincere efforts. Maybe people thought they were being sincere, but they weren't doing the fundamentals to get at the achievement gap. It's early child education, it's teacher training, professional development, and it's getting kids reading on third grade level by third grade. That's the core formula that we're undertaking.
And thank you. And Ms. DeAngelis is my fourth grade teacher.
You did good with him. You did good.
Go ahead.
You taught him everything he knew.
Good evening, Mayor de Blasio. My name is Adam Myers. I work with Brooklyn Legal Services Corporation A. Today you signed into law a number of bills establishing new tenant protections for harassment and for unsafe construction practices, and we thank you for all of that. I represented a tenant association, I currently represent a tenant association at a building 94 Franklin Avenue. These tenants were forced out of their building by a vacate order more than 2 years ago when their landlords illegally built, without permits, a religious structure in the backyard behind their building such that it blocked the fire exit. And so they've been out of that building for 2 years now. One of the families and her 3 young children has been in shelter now.
Okay, well, tell me what you need.
What I need is, we have commenced several legal proceedings, and I met with your office several months ago, but the tenants are still out. What we need is, we need the city to support us in our 7A proceeding to get these landlords removed from this building so that the repairs can happen.
That is typically through HPD, right? The 7A?
HPD is a big part of that.
Okay, so you've got that. You will do a follow-up with them to see what we do.
That would be wonderful.
What's the address?
If we could get another meeting scheduled to discuss this, it would be a huge help.
What's the address?
94 Franklin Avenue.
Follow-up. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Now, Jan, it has to be a 5-second question, Jan. Oh, 1 second. They're looking into it right now.
I would ask him the easiest question.
Okay, what's your easy?
You're not going to like it. No, cool. Okay. I'm going to ask you the easiest question that you can solve in 1 minute.
I accept.
I'm Jan Peterson. I'm with the Neighborhood Women, and I have been working. We have a pool in this neighborhood that has lost 4 of the hours for women's swim. And the women that I'm representing were at the last town hall meeting you had, and you said you would get back to them. Can they get their 8 hours back that they have for the women's swim that they worked to build for 30 years?
I am familiar with the issue,
I know
very
you are.
familiar. Here's the honest answer. We're still trying to figure out what we think is right. It is a complicated situation legally. We're going to stick with what we have for the next few months, and then I'm going to make a bigger decision on whether we think we can make any changes. I know what the request is. I am interested in the evidence they put forward. We're not there yet, but we'll make a final decision.
Well, let's just say then that the women have to be paid back for their fees because they can't use the pool. So either they get money or they get a decision, but they can't use the pool.
We'll look at that too. But right now, the current hours are going to hold for the immediate term, and we'll consider that point too.
Thank you, Jan.
Hi, I'm Stacy White. I'm the director of Small World Child Care. It's a division of St. Nick's Alliance. We want to appreciate and thank you for your support in keeping our center open, and for Councilman Reynoso and for Borough President Adams. I have 2 questions.
One question.
I'll start with one question.
One
Okay.
question.
We appreciate everything you've done for pre-K in
Louder?
the city, and we appreciate
No,
your
just go to the question. Thank you for the accolades. What's the question?
So we know what you're doing with 3K for All, and we also know what you're doing with Early Learn and rolling it into Department of Education. But what we would like to know is what you're going to do to support the community-based early childhood centers.
So, excellent question. And I worked a lot in my city council years on the question of child care and early child education at the youngest levels. Look, my hope is, as we consolidate 3K, that we are going to be in a position to then help community-based centers go deeper. If they're not doing 3K or if they want to go beyond 3K, go deeper into 2-year-olds and 1-year-olds. There's a vast need, as we heard with the previous question over here, there's a vast need to go farther. I do not have the plan yet. I do not have the money yet. First, I need to get 3K. Then I want to see where we can go from there to keep building. But as a question of where our city needs to go, we need a huge amount more childcare options at the youngest levels. And obviously, there's going to need to be city funding to achieve that. So that's the vision.
Thank you. Right here.
Hi, my name is Hector Rivera. I've been living in Bushwick section for 37 years now. I have a question for you in reference to what does the city have in place for disabled people who are basically living on a budget because they're disabled, and they pay more than 50% of their income in rents. And every time you contact the city, there is nothing available. So what is there going to be available, something for people like myself?
So with folks with disabilities, there is actually, there is a preference in our affordable housing programs for folks with disabilities. And we are continually building more affordable housing and subsidizing more apartments that exist. And there is that preference for folks with disabilities. There's not enough right now. I'm not going to lie to you and say I have everything I want, but it is growing all the time. So we will have our Office for People with Disabilities follow up to make sure that you are able to take advantage of all the opportunities that are there.
Thank you.
Okay, we have 5 minutes left. 5 minutes, everyone.
Right here.
My name is, I'm going to sit because I'm 70.
Okay, but just get to the question.
70-some years old.
You
Okay.
should sit, but give me a question.
Okay, my question is regarding the HDFCs,
Yep.
the co-ops, and that they move with the foreclosures on several of them. And you have one of the largest number in Brooklyn. And I know that you spoke in June saying that you wanted that to be paused so that they could assess
Correct.
it. And that's not what's happening. So I want to know how we can stop this. We're calling for a moratorium.
Okay.
We want to know whether or not you would
We're not all the way to a moratorium, but we have been able to pause, at least in some cases. So HDFC foreclosure, what's your address? On the coalition, okay. Okay, so in terms of the timeline on foreclosure and any pausing or flexibility we can apply.
September 15th is the deadline for HDFCs to apply for a Article 11 tax exemption. We are committed to working with the HDFCs to prevent foreclosure and are perfectly willing to work with any co-op to work on a financial solution to get out of the third-party transfer action.
So that's case by case.
Case
So
by case.
What I would urge the coalition is we're literally willing to go building by building to try and avoid the situation that people are worried about, but we need people to come forward and
Yes.
specifically work with us on what that workout plan is going to be.
Yes.
Correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay, and are you and your team ready to meet with any building that's ready to meet with you on working out a plan?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
We got 2 minutes. That means, yes.
Ok, buenas noches, señor alcalde. Mi pregunta para usted es acerca de los maestros ausentes, si lo van a traer nuevamente a las escuelas, porque menos del 10% de la escuela donde asisten mis nietos, las escuelas públicas, el menos del 10% pasó el examen de matemática de la ciudad.
Ok, pues te está diciendo que necesitamos maestros, mejores maestros.
Sí, mejores maestros,
Ok.
porque queremos saber dónde van a colocar esos profesores ausentes
Okay,
del ATR.
So she's saying that she's concerned about the low proficiency rates in the district and it wants to know what we're going to do about what she believes are underperforming teachers teaching in our schools in this district.
I don't believe there's any district where we have underperforming teachers. I want to be very straightforward with you. We have been constantly improving teacher quality with training programs. We put a lot more time into professional development so teachers can be better all the time. But we've also found some people were not meant to be teachers, were not meant to be in that profession. And since I became mayor, about 1,900 people have left as teachers because we've encouraged people who are not meant to be teachers to go find a different profession. So I believe the vast, vast majority of our teachers are good and committed, but they need more efforts to keep improving through professional development, and we're giving them an opportunity now. Thank you.
Gracias. Muchas gracias.
Last one.
Right?
Last
This
one,
is the last
last
question,
one,
so you
last
got to
one.
make it good.
You are the last
It's
question.
more of an invitation, but I'll make it good as well. Good evening. I'm a mother of 2 children who go to a really amazing school here in Williamsburg. And on behalf of our entire school community, I'm here to invite you, Mr. Mayor, to please come visit our school, Success Academy Charter School in Williamsburg. We share the building with MS50. And I feel like the problem that maybe she was mentioning before, even though charter school is not for everybody, I do believe in shared practices, and there's a lot of things that they do amazingly well. And I think it would be great if you came to the school and saw. So could you please come to visit us?
Thank you for the
That's the
invitation.
question.
That's a good question. Thank you for the invitation. So I want to speak to the shared practices point. We believe in this fundamentally, and I really appreciate you raising it. I think it is a good two-way street. There are some great practices in the charter movement that traditional public schools need to learn from, and vice versa. And what we're trying to do is encourage, in the same building, share ideas, share practices, team up, and in the same district, et cetera. So despite some of the culture wars that have pervaded about charter school issues, on the ground, we find parents working with parents, teachers working with teachers, that's actually a very promising thing. So I appreciate the invitation. I'm not going to say yes yet, simply because I'm very careful about invitations, but I know it is meant in a heartfelt manner, so I'll certainly consider it. But I thank you for noting the fact that we all need to learn from each other. Thank you, everyone. Thanks very much for being here tonight.
Muchas gracias. Se me cuidan.